One for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011. Everywhere.
It's Friday, the 4th of August. Good morning, I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa, it's mostly cloudy, 18 degrees, 18 in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news right now. Anticipated track work now underway on the LRT, which is still shut down. The head of OC Transpo, Renee Amilcar, saying the work to reposition the restraining rails started yesterday. Now they're hoping for August 14th as that preliminary date for the return to service. As of yesterday, 18 light rail vehicles had their hub assemblies replaced. Now, at some point today, we are expecting another update from OC Transpo officials. City News 1011 will carry that live as it happens. Now, breaking news on the country's labor market, with the July unemployment rate going up slightly to 5.5%. It's a third consecutive monthly increase, but that comes even as the job market might be slowing down. Mike Apple reports now from the City News Business Center.
The loss of 6,400 jobs last month was just a slight downturn, but it did show that perhaps the economy is starting to feel the effects of higher interest rates. The unemployment rate, with the size of the workforce growing with record-breaking immigration, is now up to 5.5%. Wage pressures, though, are not cooling down, and this is a red flag for the Bank of Canada, which has been trying to keep wage pressures and inflation overall in check. Average hourly wages up 5% year to year in July, and that'll still keep the Bank of Canada sounding hawkish on its future interest rate direction, and likely threatening to raise rates again when it meets in early September. Mike Apple, City News.
City News time 10:02. Now taking a look at your weather for today and going into the weekend. Here's our weather specialist, Denise Andriachi.
Varying amounts of sun and cloud this afternoon. Everything is calming down in terms of the active weather. We're clearing out this evening and overnight, so plenty of sunshine to start the long weekend. 25 is your high for Saturday with a mix of sun and cloud, and sunny conditions to start the day on Sunday. We'll see some clouds building in Sunday late day, but we should stay dry and seasonal. Our guaranteed high, 25.
Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, 18 degrees. Smiths Falls, it's 20. Now, speaking of the weekend, you can expect brief delays tomorrow on the 417 and in the downtown area. This ahead of the Rolling Thunder event. Motorcyclists set to travel from on prior to the National War Memorial around the noon hour on Saturday. Now, Ottawa Police and the City of Ottawa saying the area of Elgin Street and Laurier Avenue will be briefly impacted before the motorcyclists leave the city on the 417. Ottawa Police expected to be in the downtown core this weekend. Now, heat waves and wildfires already sweeping across the world, but what about the oceans? Well, apparently they're not doing so well. Our Jasmine Graywall is following that story.
Climate scientists are extremely concerned as oceans have hit their hottest ever recorded temperature. According to EU's climate change service, Copernicus, the average daily global sea surface temperature beat a 2016 record this week. It reached just under 21 degrees, which is way above the average for this time of the year. What does this mean for us? Well, warmer waters have less ability to absorb carbon dioxide, meaning more of that planet-warming gas will stay in the atmosphere, and it can speed up the melting of glaciers that flow in the ocean, raising our sea level. So scientists warn that can only lead to more climate disasters. And experts warn our food chain could also take a hit as hotter oceans would disturb marine species like fish and whales, forcing them to move away in search of cooler waters, and that can possibly affect fish stocks. The broken temperature record following a series of heat waves this year, including in Canada, the U.S., and the U.K. For City News, I'm Jasmine Graywall.
City News time, it's 10:04. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista for news. Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday. It's
The Sam Laprade Show, and we've got lots of great guests for you today. We're going to be following up with Councillor Steve DeRush as well about what happened in the Riverside Creek area, or Riverside South area and Finley Creek area in regards to the tornado that touched down, that bad weather we had last night. It certainly had my house shaking. I'm sure it did the same to you. I wanted to get caught up with him. Ottawa Fire Services, Nick DeFazio will also be here to talk about some of the efforts that they had following the storm that went through. Lisa McLeod's going to join us as well, MPP for Nepean. We're going to be talking about the 416 expansion, so I look forward to that conversation. But first up, we wanted to have a conversation today with Yasser Nadfi, Ottawa Centre Liberal MP. How are you, Yasser?
Good morning, Sam. I'm great. How are you?
Good. Lovely to spend time with you. You're also on the campaign trail to become the leader of the next of the Ontario Liberal Party, and of course to be the Premier. Yasser, talk to me a little bit about this campaign. How's it going?
Well, the campaign has been fantastic. I have been traveling our entire province. I've been to every four corners. I'm on my second round now. And a couple of things that I want to note. First of all, our province is big. It's really big.
Right.
And it's beautiful. It's so diverse in terms of its geography, in terms of its people. And it's been so great to just meet all kinds of people, to sit down with them, to listen to their concerns and the issues they're facing, and then talk about the opportunities that lie ahead. And that's the work that excites me, and I'm having a time of my life.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. And I can't help every time I speak to anybody that's running for the leadership of the Ontario Party to sort of think about what happened when the NDP was looking for a new leader. Merritt Stiles put up her hand, and that seemed to be the only hand that went up. But this race is much different. And Yasser, I'll be honest with you, I'll use the word comforting. It may not be the right word, but it's comforting to know that there is a race. Does that make sense to you?
It totally makes sense to me. And in a democracy, we should always have a race, because what makes our democracy so strong is an exchange of ideas, an opportunity for people to know what different people are thinking about, whether they're in the context of a leadership race or in a riding election at the federal, provincial, and municipal level, or just general election between parties. That's what makes our democracy so strong. I always call it that our elections and our democratic process is a marketplace of ideas, so that people can choose as to which idea they like the best, and which leader or which individual will best represent their interests. In the case of the Ontario Liberal Party, you've got 5 really strong candidates running. The other 4 people are good friends of mine. I've known them quite well, and we're all out there doing the hard work, the hustle across the province, talking to people and coming up with the best ideas. That's good for the Ontario Liberal Party, and it's good for the province of Ontario and our country, Canada.
And make no mistake about it, Toronto is going to be very important for you, Yasser. You're very well known here in the Ottawa area. You're well known in Toronto as well, as you were, an MPP at one point, held a very big position here in this province. But you wrote a piece, an op-ed piece in the Star, which really caught my eye. The title of this is "Yes, Ontario is Ready for Its First Muslim Premier." How important was it for you to have this kind of dialogue, this opportunity to share this message in Toronto?
Well, Sam, I am a Canadian, and I am a proud Canadian. I have lived most of my life right here in Canada. In fact, who I am in a large sense is because of the values I have learned as a Canadian. But as many people in this province, we live with multiple identities. And I think that's what makes Canada so strong, that we are able to reconcile various aspects, various elements of us, and present this incredible balance, the blend that makes us strong as a country and as a society. And I wanted to talk about that. I haven't done that much in my political career, but unfortunately, there are some voices out there. They tend to be found in dark corners on the internet or social media, or in little whispers about one's credibility or one's capability because of their particular identity. And I wanted to take the moment to talk a bit about the balance that I have achieved in terms of my faith, my culture, my language, which is important to me, of course, because that's something that defines me very much so, but also being part of the Canadian mainstream and finding that perfect balance to be able to do things in my personal life and in my professional life that I've been doing over a few decades.
It certainly was an important article. I encourage anybody to visit the Star and see that opinion piece that you wrote. The campaign trail, I'm sure it's obviously summertime. You haven't slowed down at all. I've been watching you very closely, or the other candidates as well, going strong, as you mentioned. Walk us through the timeline here. What can we expect in terms of when we will find out who the new leader will be?
Yeah, so it is a very robust process, and one of the things the party has done really well, I would say, that it's one of the most open and democratic process the Ontario Liberal Party has ever held in terms of electing its new leader. It's one member, one vote system. There will be no delegated convention as in the past, and on top of that, what the party has ensured is that all ridings, all 124 ridings across the province are equal. They all have 100 points, which means that we have to go and visit, regardless of the size of the community, every single community, and sign up new members and encourage them to vote for myself or other candidates are doing for themselves. And on top of that, membership is free, so there's no financial barrier to join the party. So it's exciting because it opens the opportunity to talk to a lot of new people. And as we are transforming, as I like to do, the Ontario Liberal Party, because we have a lot of hard work ahead of us, this is important engagement in terms of electing a new leader. There are a couple of important dates, Sam. The first one is coming up fast, which is September the 11th. That's the cutoff to sign up new members. Anybody who is a member of the Ontario Liberal Party by September 11th will be eligible to vote in the actual election. So that's a big focus of everyone. The second phase is what I think most of us are referring to as persuasion phase. That's where you will see a lot of debates taking place across the province between the candidates, where we will be able to articulate our ideas, our policies, and how we're going to lead the party and the province. The voting will take place on November 25th and 26th, depending on which part of the province you live in, and the results will be announced on December the 2nd.
Mm-hmm. Really important dates there, and all gunning towards, of course, the next provincial election. We know that there are many people in this province that are not happy with the way that Ford and his team have dealt with everything from healthcare to teachers to the pandemic and everything in between. And do you think this province at the end of the day is ready for a change?
I think this province is very much ready to change, and I point to you, Kanata Carlton, in a by-election just last week. We saw people of Kanata Carlton who have never elected a Liberal saying enough is enough. And they elected somebody incredible like Karen McCrimmon to represent their community at Queen's Park. And it was a big loss for the governing party. Sam, I can tell you, everywhere I go in the province, the number one issue that people talk to me about is how they're struggling to find a family doctor or a nurse. Everywhere. Or when they're not feeling well, or their loved ones, and they go to the local hospital, the emergency rooms are closed. At most times, if they're open, the wait is close to 20 hours. That's a huge impact on people's personal health, their self-esteem, and they are struggling. I was in Northwest Ontario, in places like Sioux Lookout, Dryden, Fort Francis, and that's the issue that continue to come up, because these are even more remote communities than southern part of the province. And that was the challenge that young parents were sharing with me, senior citizens were sharing with me. Same thing, people are bracing for another challenging year in the schools. Our class sizes have become too big. Kids are struggling in overcrowded classrooms. I keep getting reminded of that kindergarten teacher I met, and she told me that she has 35 kids in her class. That's 35 4- and 5-year-olds. I don't know how any teacher can provide the education that these kids deserve, and how kids, especially if they have any special needs, would get the care and the attention that they need. And lastly, the issues around affordability are quite acute. Young people tell me that they're working 2 or 3 jobs and struggling to pay for their rent and groceries. These issues are significant, and we're seeing no plan whatsoever from Doug Ford or his government. They continue to be just focused on issues that are so targeted to City of Toronto that it feels like the rest of the province does not exist for this premier.
Yeah, so thank you so much for your time. We've met, we've had on the show here the other candidates that are running. We're going to continue to speak with all of you right up till to that big day, and look forward to spending more time with you, Yasser. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Always a pleasure.
Yasser Naqvi joining us today, Ottawa Centre Liberal MP, also running, of course, for the Ontario Liberal leadership. We're following that story very closely. When we come back, we're going to meet a family that needs your help. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
At St. John Ambulance, we're all about community. We teach life-saving skills and provide community support through our volunteer services. All St. John Ambulance product sales and training registrations support these important services. Volunteer, donate, or enroll in a program today so we can continue to have an impact on our community. Visit sja.ca to learn more. At St. John Ambulance, we do more than save lives, we change lives.
Long way from Nashville, and mama, I tell you that. Performed from Montreal to Boston to Los Angeles. But Toronto, that's my chosen home. Sure, when I'm walking down Yonge Street, I see some funny people who have the nerve to point the finger at me. Grin and smile and whisper. My song was #2 on local radio. Sold 10,000 in Toronto alone. Turned down Ed Sullivan because they asked me to remove my makeup. Wouldn't do American Bandstand because of their segregation policies. I was just being me. Never tried to explain myself to anyone. And besides, none of that to worry, Jackie, because I know I look good. Got a new way of loving, baby. Thought I want to teach it to you.
Jackie Shane was a pioneer transgender soul singer, a central figure in the Toronto R&B scene. She helped shape what we know as the Toronto sound.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for spending time with us here on City News. When I hear about stories that I think you need to hear about, people in our community that are going through a difficult time, I bring you those stories, and I'm hoping today that we inspire you to help this young family. On July the 24th, 2023, just a couple of weeks ago, Greg Antoine's life was changed in an instant. Greg was involved in a very serious mountain biking accident while biking with his young son, Jackson, on a trail in Beachburg, Ontario. At only 7 years old, Jackson was able to keep a cool head during an incredibly stressful situation and called 911 after retrieving Greg's phone from his pants pocket, all while being very careful not to move his daddy, who had no feeling below his chest. Because of Jackson's quick thinking and decisive action under pressure, Greg was quickly found by paramedics and airlifted to the Ottawa Civic Hospital, where he was met by his wife, Brittany. And Brittany joins me now. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, Sam.
Brittany, I'm sorry. I wish we were talking under much different circumstances today. This story is very difficult to hear. Tell me a little bit about Greg.
Greg is the loving father to our 7-year-old son, Jackson, and our 5-year-old daughter, Riley. He's the exciting, fun, and playful parent in the relationship. He's taught them everything. He's taught them how to skate, how to ski, how to ride bikes. He loves to be active with them and with myself. This year, he was selected to coach our son's U9 hockey team with the Nepean Minor Hockey Association. But he'll no longer be doing that.
I'm sorry, Brittany. You've brought Jamie Drew with you today. I'm going to give you a minute to catch your breath, Britt. Jamie Drew has come with you today to have this conversation. Jamie, how do you know Greg?
Greg's we've been here in Ottawa for quite some time. Greg was part of a large group of hockey individuals that we played together for a long time. We all got to know each other very well. He was always one of those guys that never had a negative thing to say about anybody, very active, and like Britt said, very involved in Jackson and Riley's life with teaching them, especially mountain biking, skiing, hockey. He's very involved in the community, and that's how we've known each other for quite some time. And he's got a huge support group of individuals around him, and so we're all here for him, and that's how we've known each other for quite some time.
Hearing Jamie share about the support you have around you, Britt, give us an update on Greg. Obviously, July 24th must feel in many ways a minute ago, but yet a long time ago. But it was just a short number of days ago. Give me a sense of where Greg is at today.
Today he's in hospital at the Civic with a wonderful team of medical professionals around him that we're so grateful for. He's in as good a headspace as you can expect. He's relentless and determined, and he's a fighter, and he's staying positive for his friends and his family and for his kids. He has a long road ahead of him. He has been paralyzed from the chest down. He had significant spinal cord damage and broke his neck at his C5 and C6 and C7 cervical spine. So he's currently paralyzed from the nipples down, technically classified as a quadriplegic, though he does have some, though weak now, movement of his arms. His mind is as sharp as ever, though. He's even cracking jokes the other day. Yesterday, I was visiting him, and he cracked the joke to his friend when he was telling him about the helicopter ride to the hospital that he should have timed his accident for closer to dusk so that he could enjoy a sunset ride. So he's as sharp as ever.
Mm-hmm. And Jamie, listening to a young mom like Brittany and knowing that their family's going through this, how have you supported?
So there's been a great, with all of the people surrounding, and I had a wonderful conversation with Greg last night as well. And, he makes a comment, that he didn't realize he had so many friends, but, it should never take a situation like this for him to realize he's such a good guy. And, I think one of the big things of this is the GoFundMe. There is a GoFundMe page that's available, and I think we'll talk about that shortly here. But, the purpose of this is to really, to try and really allow Greg to get back to what he's known for, and that's that that fun-loving, very involved. There's going to be lots of accommodations, but like Britt said, his mind is so sharp. We were, again, joking last night on certain things. And all we want to do as a group to support, Greg and Britt and the family is to just get Greg back to doing everything he loves, and we want to be able to help in any way we can. And things like this are just avenues to help. And Greg is such a fun-loving guy, and he would do the exact same thing for anyone. And that was his biggest thing last night when I was talking to him, is he just couldn't believe the support that people are having. And I simply said to him, Greg, you would do the exact same thing for anyone else. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely. Brittany, I have to ask, how are Jackson and Riley and Jackson being there? How is he managing?
It's definitely difficult. He's being a regular 7-year-old, and Riley's being a regular 5-year-old. They're really enjoying the visits with their dad and the FaceTime with their dad. It's definitely been hard, and we're going to get him some psychological support as well. And there's been extra snuggles at bedtime. But both Greg and I really believe in honesty with our kids without fear. So we've been quite honest and talked about it a lot. Every day we ask him, both of us ask him if he has questions. I think the biggest thing on Jackson's mind and on Greg's mind is the fact that they won't be able to enjoy the same things that they did before together, like skiing and hockey. So that's the hardest part, is trying to wrap our heads around going forward and the connection that they'll have and the activities that they'll be able to do together and enjoy, and what we'll enjoy together as a family. Today's actually our 10-year wedding anniversary, if you can believe it. And for our honeymoon, we climbed Mount Kilimanjaro together. And I actually did a presentation on this for a group of people at UBC last week, and they asked me, the question was, what's your next adventure that you'll embark on together? And I guess now it's this. So this will be our next challenge to surmount together.
Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. And I know it's difficult. I mean, we don't know each other. I'm a stranger to you, but I did want to reach out and give you the opportunity to share about the GoFundMe and share your story. Jamie, how can we inspire people today to visit this GoFundMe page?
Well, I think it's there's a link available. It's one of those situations where GoFundMe has been around for quite some time now. You don't have to know Greg to contribute. Anything helps. If it's one of those things where you have kids yourself, or people like Greg, it's one of those things that you can just jump on, send it around, donate if you have the ability to. Just be there for a guy like Greg that, like Britt said, like, we're trying to get him back to being able to accommodate certain things. He's got a great open mind to changing the experience with Jackson and Riley and being able to continue doing that. So anything helps. Anybody can join it, go on, share it. Like I say, contribute where you can.
And I'm just going to interrupt Jamie to it, because we only have a couple of seconds, but I want to make sure. So if we look up GoFundMe, it's Support the Family of Greg Antoine. And I wanted to make sure to say that. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on. I know it's a difficult conversation. Brittany, I know we don't know each other, but I'm sending you a big hug. Please tell Greg that we're thinking about him, and big hugs to Jackson and Riley, okay?
Thank you for helping him live his most meaningful, empowered life. Really appreciate it, Sam.
Absolutely. Let's stay in touch, okay?
Thank you.
Appreciate the time today. That very, very difficult conversation today with Brittany Antoine, and of course her husband Greg has experienced that tragic accident. Jamie Drew joining us as well. If you can help that family, reach out to Please Support Antoine Family on GoFundMe. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by storytellers for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
This is a perfectly healthy child. What's unhealthy are birth alerts, a racist practice that may stop this Indigenous mother from going home with her newborn. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Hi, I'm Paula Roy, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back into my kitchen for another season of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. My approach to food is pretty straightforward. Fancy is fine, but when you're in a time crunch or have a really hungry and patient family to feed, I say simple recipes made with wholesome ingredients that you probably have on hand are the best. And that's exactly what you'll find on Paula Roy's Favorite Foods on Rogers TV.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's 10:30. Good morning. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now in Ottawa, 21 degrees, mostly cloudy. Feeling more like 26. In Smith Falls, it's 20. Here's what's making news right now. Environment Canada reporting that a funnel cloud formed over a neighborhood just outside of the Ottawa area late yesterday after that severe thunderstorm. The tornado confirmed near Metcalfe in the Riverside South area. The rural community just 30 kilometers southeast of Ottawa joined other areas in reporting hail, strong winds and rain. Ottawa Fire Service is saying that part of the home's roof was ripped off, but the building's structural integrity was not damaged. Now, the area city council is saying that no injuries were reported yesterday, and this is the second tornado to hit Ottawa in the past 3 weeks. Now, expect brief delays tomorrow on the 417 and in the downtown area ahead of the Rolling Thunder Ottawa event. Motorcyclists set to travel from Anne Pryor to the National War Memorial around noon tomorrow. Ottawa Police and the city saying the area of Elgin Street and Laurier Avenue will be briefly impacted, and the motorcyclists will be leaving the city on the 417 tomorrow. Police are expected to be in the downtown core this weekend. City News Time 10:33. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
And we're back on City News. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We're going to be catching up with Steve Delush, City Councillor for Riverside South and Frinley Creek, in regards to the weather that came through yesterday. I want to get a sense of how many homes have been damaged. I don't believe there's been any injuries reported, but I wanted to get caught up with Steve Delush. And we're also going to be joined by Nick DeFazio from Ottawa Fire Service to talk about how they responded yesterday as well. Well, that's coming up in a couple of minutes. But we wanted to connect today with Lisa McLeod. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Sam. How are you?
Lisa, I feel like we've just chatted. We just chatted because of bad weather, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy. The 2 tornadoes in 3 weeks, and we weren't hit as bad. Barhaven this time, but we certainly are in this community, Riverside South obviously being so close, dealing with it. And it's just, it's inexplicable, but it's showing what great resilience we have as a community.
Absolutely. Of course, Lisa MacLeod, MPP for Nepean. You have lots on your plate. One sort of area that I know you're focused on right now is the 416. The 416. I mean, I'm going to date myself, Lisa. I remember the times it was two lanes, one going one way, one going the other. That wasn't that long ago, Lisa.
No, I mean the main provincial highway actually used to be Prince of Wales, and then it was sort of the 16 went to the 416, but it's really an underutilized highway. And I think it will reduce a lot more traffic if we could get an additional ramp into Barhaven. And so I've been previously working with Jan Harder, now with Davis Hill and Wilson Low on getting an interchange there so that we can get people to lessen the traffic in the community, but also make it more convenient. We're a community of over 100,000 people now, and North Grenville has multiple ramps going into their community, and Barhaven, which is the size of a major city in and of itself, only has the one at Fallowfield. So I think it's high time that we put the pressure on to make that happen.
For sure. So if I picture myself, let's say I'm coming home from Toronto, I'm heading down the 416. I'm getting off now at Bankfield onto Brophy to head into Richmond. But you're looking for then another exchange between that and Fallowfield. Is that correct?
Exactly. And where it would come off, if you can see it from the highway now, there's a bit of a manufacturing facility there. It would come off close to there. So it would make a lot of sense. It would be right between, just as you say, Manotick and Barhaven. And there is a very high growth community there in Half Moon Bay. There are new developments that are occurring right now through Minto and Kaivan and others that are building houses. And it really would make a ton of sense to get people, off and on there. In addition, I mean, we're looking at a lot of economic development happening in Barhaven, Canada, and Kentville. And so with that, it gets people to their jobs more quickly and safely. So I'm really looking forward. I've been working on it for a number of years, but this is really, I think, time that we had a conversation in the city of Ottawa that really supports West End commuters.
So, of course, I have to ask the question because I'm sure people are driving along going, okay, Sam, ask her how much it's going to cost. So what's the number?
Well, there will be environmental assessments that will determine that. That's being done by the city. The city would provide us with the cost because I think it's usually the municipalities that undertake this type of work, and the Ministry of Transportation would have to pay for it. But I can say that whatever the ending dollar figure would be, will pay for itself in moving commuters and goods quicker. And keep in mind, we now have that massive Amazon facility just at the top of Strandherd here that does benefit from Fallowfield for sure, but we'll also be moving products to the more southerly communities, not only here in the city of Ottawa, but definitely through the rest of Ontario. So I think that it's high time. And again, I don't have the final figure, but again, I just really do feel that investing in that interchange would far outweigh any cost, because the benefit would just be so spectacular for a number of things.
So talk to me a little bit about Cambrian Road and what's happening in that area.
Well, there's a high growth. I mean, and it's been growing. It's now, I'll date myself, right? So when I was working for Councillor Jan Harder, then Councillor Jan Harder, back in 2000, we were just starting to see development in Stonebridge. And now you can see from one end of Cambrian Road to the other, multiple homes. And I think when you start to see housing starts like that, and I've been talking a lot about housing affordability, you really do have to look at the other types of infrastructure on Cambrian Road. So it requires, obviously, city roads, city lighting, and city-supported infrastructure, but it also requires the province to really support it with our housing initiatives and our plans, and also making sure that the traffic is there, but also we're supporting the school board. So we're starting to see a number of schools crop up in that area as well. But it's interesting, if you're living in Barrhaven, you're going to start to see now Chapman Mills extend right through to almost the Costco. And so that's being developed too. So there's a lot going on here, and it's very exciting, but it also means we have to manage explosive growth with infrastructure. And infrastructure comes in the form of healthcare, it comes in the form of new schools, and it comes in the form of roads, bridges, and transit. And that really is at the heart of making sure we have a strong and viable community.
For sure. I mean, I remember, I think I moved there, and I'm, once again, dating myself. I think it was 1986. I went to Pius. So you can imagine the drive we used to make to Pius every single day.
We're on horse and buggy back.
That's what it felt like, to be honest with you. 100% what it felt like. But, I mean, I always joke that I couldn't buy a stamp in Barrhaven at the time. And now it really is a community you could, live, work, and play in that entire community and not have to leave. And it really has changed. And it can be frustrating, Lisa, for people that move into a community and some of the infrastructure comes so far after.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough. We've been fortunate. I think that the developers in this community have really kept pace. And I do credit a lot of that to Councillor Harder. When she was our city councillor, was able to make sure that the investments were happening. We obviously always get frustrated with the challenges on the roads, of course, with Strand Herd sometimes, but we are keeping pace, which is good. But I think in order for us to really develop, and two key corridors will be the interchange at Barrhaven, but also, I've had a number of conversations with my other city councillor and in Belts Corners, and really having the conversation that we need an overpass there because we're going to get light rail through that part of the community. So I've been speaking with Lane Johnson about that and making sure that on both ends of this constituency, or the old city of Nepean, that we're really making sure that people are getting to places on time, and that we're keeping pace with the population boom. And you think about Belts Corners, welcoming D&D is significant. It's important, but it's also going to create some challenges with traffic there as well. So on both sides of this big, wonderful constituency of mine, we've got lots of growth and we've got lots of potential, but we need to keep up with it in terms of infrastructure.
For sure. And of course, you brought up those three little letters, so now I have to dive in a little bit. LRT. When you see, Lisa, what's happened with the LRT, and you see what Mayor Mark Sutcliffe and Renee Almokar, the GM of OC Transpo and Transit Services, are trying to do with this LRT, knowing that the province in many ways holds the purse strings for phase number 3. What goes through your mind?
Well, look, we keep dating ourselves on here, but I'm coughing here, but
that's okay.
In seriousness, as we talk about Moody Drive, I was working for John Barrett in '99, and John at the time was the MPP, and he was calling it the cuckoo choo-choo. And so I sort of have a little bit of a laugh when I think about it now, because a lot of these designs and grandiose ideas were driven by politicians, whether that was Bob Shirelli or others, and it really became a political tool in the early 2000s for local liberals to play as much politics. So it moved along on a political front, in my opinion, and I've been around long enough to see it. I think it's unfortunate that we've had so many design challenges and problems, and it has frustrated riders to the nth degree. I know for my own daughter who's going to university next year, this is she wants this thing to work. And so we all want this thing to work, and we've all invested a ton of money in it. And it's unfortunate that the current mayor is saddled with some bad political decision making in the past. And I think that in order for the province to continue to fund any phase beyond right now, there will have to be a value per dollar and a proven track record that it's going to work. But I mean, it's very frustrating for Ottawa commuters. And to be honest, again, I think it was based on decision making by previous local governments, from Paul Martin to Dalton McGuinty.
I'm always curious of how these things work. So obviously, when the tornado came through, you were on the phone with the Premier, and then I called you, which was so bizarre that day. So obviously, the Premier was very quick to contact you in regards to the tornado. But when I think about things like, this 416, this additional opportunity to have another exchange there, so people can get on and off the 416 between Fallowfield and Bankfield, for instance. What kind of conversations happen with the Premier, with you and him regarding that? And then what also happens between you and the Premier when it comes to the LRT? Are these conversations ongoing with you and him?
Oh, yeah. The Premier and I talk quite frequently, and that has not changed since I had to take my leave for mental health issues. We still connected frequently on Ottawa-based issues. So with the 416, he actually came on a town hall session with me during the pandemic, and on that town hall, which was virtual, committed to supporting. So that was great. But that work will also have to be done through the Ministry of Transportation and through their master plan, and they do have it listed in their master plan for Eastern Ontario. So those conversations happen, and it comes down to going to Treasury Board as a minister and seeking approval for projects, and that really is sort of peer reviewed because it's cabinet ministers that are in there, and then secondly, the bureaucrats will have their say as well, and then the city obviously competes for funding requests with other municipalities. So he's quite aware of that project. With the LRT, we have had conversations dating back to the first time it really went down, and we were out during the winter months prior to the pandemic. And I was really of the opinion then, and I still am, that we have to have a careful eye as a government and as a province on what happens here, because I know we have expansive rapid transit going on in Toronto and Mississauga and Hamilton and other places, and that's all well and good. But Ottawa is the second largest city in the province. It is one of the most consequentially important municipalities in the entire country, given we're the seat of Parliament, and so therefore it does require us to have a world-class transportation system that works.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having those conversations with the Premier and having his ear on these, because we can sometimes feel a bit forgotten, Lisa. So I appreciate that you.
And
that's
an age-old issue too. I remember banging that drum when the Premier was actually from Ottawa, and so it's an age-old thing, right? Yeah. We are so far from Toronto. The decision making is, and people pop in for a day or two, sure, here and there, from governments, but this is not Disneyland. This is Ottawa, and it's where we live, and the people who live here pay taxes, and we expect good services.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Listen, have a great long weekend. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, and hopefully these allergies go away.
Yeah, exactly. I was a couple times. I was like, "Are you okay?" But it sounds like you're okay.
Some water here, but yeah, I've been sneezing. I'm lucky I didn't sneeze on you. So
there you go. Lisa, thanks so much for your time today.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Lisa McLeod joining us, MPP from Nepean, talking about a number of issues there, including the 416, that additional exchange between Bankfield and Fallowfield. So that's in the works, and lots of work happening there. Talking a little LRT as well. When we come back, Nick DeFazio is going to be here from Ottawa Fire Services. We're going to be talking about the weather last night and how that affected OFS. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
Your mouth can do a lot of amazing things. And your mouth can save a life.
Hi, I'm Tom Wong. I'm just one of close to 1,000 Canadians in search of a stem cell match. We need your help.
A simple swab is all you need to register on the National Stem Cell Database. You could be the one to save a life. Find the hero in you.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
Hi, I'm Meg from Fit Over 50. In my upcoming episode, you can join me for a workout focused on core and back strength. All you'll need is a band and a chair. Can't wait to work out with you soon.
Fit Over 50 with Meg, weekday mornings at 8:30 on Rogers TV.
Today, I helped a senior find transportation to an important medical appointment.
Today, I helped a new mom find virtual programming so she didn't feel so isolated.
Today, I helped someone understand new government supports.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
And we're back on City News. This time yesterday, we were sharing that bad weather was probably going to come our way, and boy, did it ever. We wanted to get connected today with Nick DeFazio from Ottawa Fire Services. How are you, Nick?
Good, Sam. How are you doing?
Good. I was thinking about all of you last night. I was watching very closely on social media to see how you were responding and how Ottawa Police Service responding to the potential of tornadoes happening here in the Ottawa area. We know this is the third round, Nick, of bad weather just in the most recent weeks, and boy, you responded in pretty big ways. Walk us through how the team responded yesterday.
Yeah, this is becoming quite common now in Ottawa, and last night it started around 7-ish, and I got a page saying that there were reports of a tornado touching down, and I had a tweet ready to say we have reports, as in Ottawa Fire has reports of tornado touching down, but I held off just because there's always that, is this really happening again kind of thought, but sure enough it did, and we made our way to Canyon Walk around 7, and the first call we took was when we arrived on scene. Parts of some older residents' roofs had been ripped off, and their dog was inside. That was the first call, and they had all made it out safely. So the structure of the home was okay, but what we saw a lot yesterday was a lot of roofs being ripped off on houses. So firefighters were out and about, and they were helping these residents by tarping the roof so it didn't cause too much damage inside their houses.
And what do you, when you hear, Nick, that, all day yesterday on City News, I'm sure you listen to City News, Nick, but when you're hearing us talk about the weather and knowing that there's going to be potentially some bad weather coming, how do you prepare as OFS to know that, do you pull more people in? Do you sort of have a plan for this type of thing, or is it just a normal day for all of you at Ottawa Fire Service?
That's a good question, but I think it's one of those things where we're just kind of always ready for anything, because with every call it's so different. Obviously, these weather events are becoming quite normal. But with the Ottawa Fire Services, we have so many different specialty teams that are always training, that when something like this comes, they're just always ready. And obviously, when you think of us, you think of fires, but we do so much more than that. And yesterday would be an example of our structural collapse team, who are always ready for these type of calls. They were making their way out to Canyon Walk when the first reports came in. We have our confined space rescue teams that do excellent work as well. So all these specialty teams that we have and all our extrication equipment and all the firefighters are certified, trained with their chainsaws and everything. It all comes into play with things like this, and it's just becoming so much more common. But we're always training and always ready for it.
Mm-hmm. And we know in another municipality very close, lightning strike to home in the middle of the night. I can't even imagine what that was like. You obviously are thinking about things like that, Nick, for anything, maybe lightning hitting individuals or hitting structures, businesses, homes. That must be top of mind as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what happened yesterday is we did respond to a call for lightning hitting a house here in Ottawa. When we got there was charring on the side of the house, so it did look that lightning did strike the house. So we went in with our thermal imaging camera, and the firefighters checked, because in between the walls is where the fire would start, and you wouldn't know. So for the residents there, we had them leave, and we went in and checked the house, and luckily that no fire did start up in between their walls.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing on that. And just while I have you today, I want to mention the tragic accident that happened at the corner of Saint Laurent and Montreal Road. Yeah. This is one that was very, very difficult to hear about. I just happened by complete fluke. I just couldn't sleep. And so I saw some social media posts about that very early, like 1 o'clock in the morning, talking about that. So I sort of followed that story and saw that your team responded very quickly. 2 fatalities there. Very, very tragic accident. But to have your members, arrive, to your point about you just never know what situation you're going into, to arrive to 2 cars on fire at a very busy intersection, even though it was, 12:30, quarter to 1 in the morning, that must be very difficult on members as well.
Yeah, that is a very busy intersection in the city, even at that time at night. We were there, within minutes of getting the call, and one car was fully engulfed in smoke and flames, and then the second one, the motor compartment was engulfed in smoke and flames with somebody severely pinned inside. Again, our extrication teams, another specialty we do with our heavy rescues, and all our pumps have extrication equipment on them. It was an intricate extrication is what I was telling people, but they got the fire out, they stabilized the vehicle, they did successfully get the individual out. It took time, a 30-minute extrication, so it took time, but very difficult situation for everybody involved, and we do send our condolences on behalf of the Ottawa Fire Service to the 2 people who lost their life in that accident. And the Ottawa Fire Service is very good with resources even after a call like that for our members, because these are things that they're seeing and dealing with that can carry weight long after the call. So definitely one of the harder calls to respond to, but they did successfully get her out when we arrived on scene.
Nick, thank you so much for sharing and thinking about all members. We rely on you, and we know how hard you work and the whole team works at Ottawa Fire Service. You're very generous to come on with your time. Thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me, and hope you have a nice long weekend.
You too, Nick. I'm hoping it's a quiet one for all first responders. A lot of those long weekends have been very busy, so I hope you have a quiet long weekend. Speaking about, thank you so much. Speaking about the long weekend, Sergeant Kerry Schmidt from OPP, he monitors those 401 highways, those 400 highways. We're going to get a chance to speak with Kerry Schmidt to talk about this long weekend and what he's seeing on the roads. So we're going to speak with him when we come back. Steve Derlush is going to be here as well, City Councillor for Riverside South, Finley Creek, also chair of the LRT subcommittee. We're going to be talking particularly with Steve today about the bad weather that hit the community of Riverside South and Finley Creek and get his assessment. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by storytellers for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
It's a new season of the new Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
Hi, can I take your order? Hello?
Oh, hey. Wait, what was the question?
Let me guess. One driving high combo, extra baked?
No. Could I get a burger with a side of fries?
Think you're a better driver when you're high? Think again. Smoking weed affects reaction time and concentration. A message from Mad Canada.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
WW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smith Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, the 4th of August. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now, 21 degrees, mostly cloudy. Smith Falls, 20. Here's what's making news right now. The country's unemployment rate was up again last month, rising for the third month in a row to 5.5%. Now, 6,400 jobs also lost overall, and it appears the labor market is starting to struggle absorbing the rapid pace of population growth. Mike Eppel reports now from the City News Business Center.
July saw the economy give back just over 6,000 jobs. That was after June's outsized 60,000 jobs added. But while employment growth was basically flat, soaring population growth, up 82,000 for the month, meant that not all new labor force participants found jobs. And that sent the unemployment rate up for the third month in a row to 5.5%. And still, with price pressures, inflation in the economy, workers are demanding higher wages. Wage growth rose 5% year to year. That's a number the Bank of Canada will closely watch for signs of additional inflationary pressures. The jobs report for July, just one of many indicators in advance of the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision coming up September 6th. Mike Eppel, City News.
City News time, 11:02. Now we have some breaking news from TELUS, the company cutting 6,000 jobs, and workers, they'll be offered early retirement and voluntary departure packages. The CEO of TELUS blaming the job cuts for what he calls the competitive and macroeconomic environment. Now TELUS also reporting this morning that its second quarter net income fell about 61% year over year to $196 million. Now, once again, TELUS cutting 6,000 jobs today, and workers, they'll be offered an early retirement and voluntary departure packages. Now, taking a look at your weather for today and going into the long weekend, here's our weather specialist, Denise Andriachi.
Varying amounts of sun and cloud this afternoon. Everything is calming down in terms of the active weather. We're clearing out this evening and overnight, so plenty of sunshine to start the long weekend. 25 is your high for Saturday with a mix of sun and cloud, and sunny conditions to start the day on Sunday. We'll see some clouds building in Sunday late day, but we should stay dry and seasonal. Our guaranteed high, 25.
Right now, 22 degrees, partly cloudy, feeling more like 27, 21. in Smiths Falls. Ottawa firefighters called to the bridge this morning under the Sir John A. Macdonald Parkway for a small fire that was just around 6 this morning. Ottawa Fire Service posting on social media, putting out what looked like a small fire. There's no word yet on what may have caused it, and so far no word of any injuries. Now, we talk a lot about climate change, especially coming off the hottest July on record. But our Jason Greywall is joining us now with some new stats on the ocean that's also heating up.
Now it appears oceans are experiencing an extreme heat wave as well, and some climate scientists say the effects are just as drastic. According to EU's climate change service, Copernicus, the average daily global sea surface temperature has beat a 2016 record this week. It reached just under 21 degrees. That's far above the average for this time of year. Scientists worry this can lead to more climate disasters as warm waters have less ability to absorb carbon dioxide, meaning more of the planet warming gas will stay in the atmosphere. This will lead to the melting of glaciers that flow in the ocean, eventually raising our sea levels, making us more vulnerable to extreme rainfall and flooding. And what does this mean for sea animals? Well, it would make them extremely uncomfortable and aggressive. Experts say fish will likely try to escape the heat by traveling to deeper depths of the sea, looking for cooler water. And experts warn this will likely affect the fishing industry. And while scientists continue to investigate the ocean heat, some say climate change is the main cause, making the oceans warmer as they absorb most of the heating from greenhouse gas emissions. For City News, I'm Jasmine Greywall.
And I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, everybody, it is the long weekend. Where are you headed this weekend? Maybe you're taking a day trip. Maybe you're heading to Toronto. Maybe you're heading to Cornwall. Wherever you're headed, I wanted to get caught up today with Carrie Schmidt, Sergeant with the OPP. Hello, Sergeant Schmidt.
Happy Civic Long Weekend.
Well, happy Civic Long Weekend to you. I always think about you on these long weekends because I know you hold your breath, I think, a little bit, that everyone's going to get there safely.
Well, yeah, and last year was not a good Civic weekend. 6 people died in crashes, road crashes across the province just over the weekend. And in the last 10 years during the Civic Long Weekend, we had 58 fatalities, some on the water, some on the trails, some on the highways. And, again, we just want to make this weekend fatality-free, and, it requires everyone to do their part, whether it's, just driving alertly, attentively, driving sober, obeying the speed limit, not being distracted and paying attention to what's going on around you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Roads, on the water, on the trails, anywhere. If you're driving equipment, you got to take care.
100%. And we've seen so many water fatalities. I mean, it seems like every day for about a week there we were seeing something. Sergeant Schmidt, it's so difficult to see that.
It certainly is. And in 13 years, a kind of a weird number, but 300 people have died in the water in marine fatalities. That's not people going swimming in the beaches and drowning. These are people that are falling off of boats or vessels, canoes, kayaks, or wherever, and not surfacing. 87% of those people that were in a boat that fell off and died were not wearing a life jacket. And if that's not a sobering statistic, I don't know what is. You have to have it on you or in the boat, but on the boat. But we would certainly recommend and highly encourage that you wear it, because that is the only way it's going to save your life if it's actually around your body.
For sure, it's definitely wise words to share. We want to have fun this weekend, right? Make no mistake about it. But we want everyone to be arriving back at work on Monday, or no, back on Tuesday. Actually, Tuesday's the big day back. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the 400 series highways. These highways, I'll be honest with you, the older I get, the more nervous I get on those highways. I find people are just, and I'm going the speed limit, I swear, maybe a little bit over sometimes, but I see people flying past me, Carrie. It's beyond my comprehension.
Yeah, well, stunt driving or aggressive driving, number one killer on OPP road collision investigations. Historically for the last several years, it has been just an unbelievable, outcome in these crashes. Speed, speed kills. We talk about that all the time, and it's the change of speed from whatever you're going to zero. When that happens in 200 or 300 milliseconds in a crash event, that's where injuries are sustained. And if you're not paying attention, the faster you go, the less time you have to avoid a situation, and really everything plays in part. If you're not able to drive according to your mental capacity, if you're impaired, if you're not paying attention, you're essentially impaired as well, or even fatigued. And then when you start speeding, you're just giving away time, which is precious in efforts to avoid a collision. And so just slow down, take it easy. If you want to have fun, go to a track, go someplace where you can enjoy the thrill of performance of your vehicle. But on the roads, along with commercial trucks and summertime motorcycles, pedestrians, bicyclists, vulnerable road users, they're the ones that are going to pay the biggest price if they're involved in a collision, because they don't have that safety cage around them.
Absolutely. Are you able to enjoy the long weekend at all, Carrie?
Well, I'm hoping to. We're going to get out and enjoy some water this weekend, and get out there and enjoy just some of beautiful summer Ontario. So that's what I plan on doing. I hope everyone does as well. But as you're traveling to your destination, we really want to talk about roadside workers, emergency workers, first responders. When you see flashing lights in the distance on the highway and you're approaching them, please slow down as you get close. Move over if there's a lane available. Proceed with caution as you go by. Slow down, move over is legislation that's been in place for about 20 years already, and yet we still see so many close calls, and we've actually had 5 officers killed since the late 80s when we started recording these numbers, and it is absolutely tragic and preventable and horrific. So, tow trucks, police cars, fire trucks, ambulance, or anyone who's broken down on the side of the road, give them space, slow down and move over. It is terrifying for people being outside with traffic going by them at highway speeds or more, within just a couple of meters.
100%. Thanks for all the great reminders, and we just want everybody to have a fun and safe long weekend.
Absolutely. That's it. So take care, have fun, and get home safely.
Absolutely. Sergeant Kerry Schmidt from the OPP, very generous with his time. We appreciate it very much. We wanted to spend some time and head all the way to Riverside South, Finley Creek, and spend some time with Councillor Steve DeRush. Hello, Councillor.
Good morning.
You had a very busy evening last night. Walk me through what you're seeing in your community.
Yeah, indeed. Well, as you know, we had a tornado set down, according to reports, in the Finley Creek area, which is in the southern Bank Street area of the city. It was a very intense storm that also included some severe weather in the Riverside South area. So about a dozen homes were impacted with damage to their roofs and their property. Obviously, the emergency services were very quick to respond and assess the situation and help those homeowners that were affected. Very, very happy to report that there were no injuries and no fatalities, but still very scary moment for families. And today in Riverside South and Finley Creek, the cleanup has started and continues, and likely will be, I'm sure, for some people into the weekend, if not longer.
And just taking note of those emergency alerts, and I'm the first one, I'll say it, I used to think, and not really pay much attention. Those days changed for me when that derecho went through this community and really, had devastating consequence. I mean, life was lost. I mean, there was very, very tragic time. I pay so much more attention to those warnings and those watches now. Steve, it really is another reminder today that not to take those lightly and to always keep eyes on the skies, and of course your ears here to City News to listen to those weather updates. But it's just another reminder to know we need to take those seriously.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think there is a risk that you get numb to these notices. And I've been out in the community at a restaurant, and everyone's phone starts going off, and it starts to get dark outside. And you really have to take it seriously. And if you are out and about, that you are making sure that that you're safe, or reaching out to your family that they're safe. You, like me, have a family, and sometimes the kids are home alone, and just make sure that they know what to do in these types of situations, so that they're safe. And again, just ensuring that your family is ready. If there's a power outage, you may not be directly affected, but sometimes we have situations where the power is out for several hours, if not several days, and you need to be ready in terms of supporting your family, and things like just having enough gas in your car, right? So that you so that you're ready. So again, I just grateful that no one was injured, and not a great start to the weekend for several residents, but city's here to help those people where we can. We're cleaning up our infrastructure. And just very grateful as well to the emergency services personnel who were quick on the job and helping people stabilize their homes so that they wouldn't suffer further damage.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for updating there. And it's been a busy week for you, as well as being the chair of the LRT subcommittee. You've been obviously continue to be the counselor. It's two big jobs really in one there, Steve. We're hearing very positive reports that August 14th will be that day that the trains are back on the track. Are you positive that we'll be sort of moving towards that date?
I'll never say I'm positive. I'm 100% positive, right? This has been a project with a lot of ups and downs, but I think Renee has learned very quickly, unfortunately, that you need to be as accurately as possible and not build up too many expectations that you're going to overpromise and underdeliver. So I know they're working very hard on the fix and coming up with some short-term measures so that the system will be operational. And ultimately, we're focused on fixing the system in the long term in terms of strengthening the axle and the wheel so that we don't have these problems that we've been experiencing over the years, especially as we expand the rail system into the east and the west of the city. So it's a frustrating file, there's no question, and this is not a new problem that we're experiencing. We are working collaboratively with the contractor, as difficult as that is at times. But again, I think we've kind of reset that relationship for the right reasons. We don't want to be talking through lawyers. We want everybody around the table focused on the fix, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you so much for your time. I know it's been a busy 24 hours. Thank you so much. We'll continue to chat and continue to follow the LRT story as well.
For sure, Sam. Take care.
Steve Delush joining us today, City Councillor for Riverside South, Finley Creek. Big sort of weather in that area. Well, right across the region. My house was certainly shaken in the Richmond area. It certainly felt that the windows were shaking there. But we know that obviously the LRT is another big story. We appreciate him commenting on both. When we come back, well, my friend and my colleague, Anil Jolly, will be in studio. We're going to talk about the week it has been. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
These days at your local Legion, we're marching to the beat of a different drum. On a mission to support veterans, to have fun, and to welcome everyone to our ranks. You don't have to be a veteran to join the Legion. And as a member, you'll join thousands of others serving our veterans, our communities, and our country. Oh yeah, and our Member Perks program will save you thousands on shopping, dining, products, and services across the country. Join us at legion.ca.
Behold Emily Carr, painter, about to encounter the force that will consume her life.
How tightly they sealed their secrets from me, humble and pleading before the great trees, awaiting the invitation from the Spirit to come meet me halfway. Nothing is still now. Everything is alive. At last, I knew I must see through the eye of the totem itself, the mythic eye of the forest.
Seldom able to live by her brush, before she died in 1945, Emily Carr was in the first rank of Canadian painters.
This is my country. What I want to express is here, and I love it. Amen.
Summer days, summer nights. Lots of things to do, places to go, and people to see. If you're having a few drinks, be sure to plan ahead and get home safely. We don't want to pick you up. Drinking drivers risk injuries to themselves and others and take chances with their license, their jobs, and their future. Remember what's at stake and choose your ride, whether you're the driver, the passenger, or the party host. Thanks for supporting sober driving. I hope we never meet.
Visit arrivealive.org to find out more.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, it's one of my favorite times of the week when I get to invite my friend and my colleague Anil Jolly in studio to talk about the week it has been. How are you?
Good. How are you, Sam?
Good. It's been a busy week.
It's been a busy week, and you're back.
I'm back.
And it's been what a week to come back to.
I know. So much news. I missed all of you, of course.
We missed you.
I love being away. Don't misunderstand me. Of course, it's always fun to travel. And I know the show is in great hands. Obviously, Derek Fage was filling in, and of course, Noah and Aaron do a great job. But there's something about coming back to Ottawa. I mean, you travel as well. There's something about coming home.
There's always, travel. We go to Toronto and things like that. But there's no place like home.
No place like home.
We heard that in a movie before.
Yeah,
no place like
exactly. We got some very big news yesterday, and our newsroom was abuzz. We are all, there's no two ways about it. These are busy jobs, right? We have to keep our head down and we're keeping focused. But we did spend about 5 minutes kind of giddy
I think it was longer than
maybe 5 minutes longer.
Everybody.
We were so excited. Taylor Swift coming to Rogers Centre 2024, November 14th, 15th, 16th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. So we got to announce that, of course, because Rogers Communications is bringing Taylor Swift, the Era Tour here. And you were just as excited as I was, which was lovely.
I was excited just because it's such a big deal trying to get her to come here. I guess she finally responded to
our Prime Minister.
Our PM's plea to come here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau. But I'm just excited for everybody that wants to see her.
Yeah.
She's a huge star, and that's going to be great for Toronto. It's great for Canada. And all you Swifties, go get verified and get those tickets.
So it took me, I shared yesterday on City News here that it took me about 90 minutes to get verified. And I kept losing my patience, as you know, because I was going out into the newsroom going, okay, should I refresh? And you were all like, just stop it. And I actually kept my phone with you for a while.
You did.
So I wouldn't keep tapping on it. But so I've got that far. Now, whether I even get close to getting any sort of next step, which is on Tuesday. The next step would be that there would be a code sent, and then I would be given an hour to buy tickets. So that's the next step. So I had to choose. So she's coming for 6 dates, and everybody that gets verified, you go to Ticketmaster to get verified. Everyone has to choose 2 dates. So I chose 2 dates, and then they'll let me know if I've made it or not.
Wow, this is quite the process.
I know.
Wow.
But I had to do it for Adele. I'm going to see Adele in 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
So that was the same process there. I got very lucky there.
Yeah.
And I had to do the same thing for Garth Brooks. Got very lucky for Garth Brooks, but will my luck run out?
No.
I hope not.
No. You're a huge Swiftie.
It's going to be so much fun. We were shaking it off here yesterday in the studio. And then so we're on Rogers TV, as you know. I love being on Rogers TV. But I'm going to admit something. Sometimes I forget I'm on Rogers TV. And yesterday, we had our lovely colleague, Perushka Gobelkiska, who's a great friend. She came in to share the good news about Taylor Swift. And I sort of forgot we were on TV, and I might have danced.
Danced?
A little bit.
Yeah,
in
you
my
were both
chair.
pretty excited.
Yeah, we were very excited. So for those people that haven't verified yet, you have till Saturday to do that. And honestly, I received, no word of a lie, at least 12 emails from people. I think they think because I work for, the parent company, of course, of this radio station is City News, is Rogers, my apologies. So our parent company is Rogers, and I think people thought that I had some sort of inside scoop. So I had at least 12 messages going, Sam, if you have any extra tickets, where am I getting extra tickets?
Just going to DM Tay right now.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Taylor.
We're like this.
So I don't have any, for those listening, I don't have any way to get tickets except my very own. Hopefully I get 2 for my kid and I. That's about it.
Yeah. Just as long as you get that, Avery will be happy.
Avery will be very happy, yes.
Thrilled.
Yeah, so I sent her the message and she already knew.
Yeah.
So that's how quickly it went around Saunders Farm yesterday. Of course, all the the gals working out there about the same age, so they were very excited about it, and the news traveled very, very quickly. It has been a very busy week, and more weather worries came our way. We were announcing it all day yesterday. Watch the skies, listen to City News for those weather updates, and it really can cause a lot of people stress now, Anil, when we've seen what's happened in the last number of weeks.
Yeah, anytime you get those alerts on your phone or you see it, it does. I mean, it's happening a lot more frequently, and if you, and it's climate change. So if you don't think that climate change is real, have a look at what's been happening with us. No, but I got caught in that hailstorm yesterday. Took the pups out for a walk for a little bit, and then just got pelted on with some hail.
Oh, it was wild.
Right back. It was wild, yeah. And then I saw, we had a tornado that touched down in the south end of the city, so there was some damage there, and it's scary now that we're getting these weekly. 'Cause last week we got another warning as well.
The big 3 topics this week, of course, Taylor Swift, we've already talked about.
Swift.
The weather worries. And I don't know if you know, but the LRT's been in the news.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, it has been.
We just spoke with Steve Derush a few minutes ago, of course, chair of the subcommittee for the LRT, and he's been following this file very closely, and he was, just elected just under a year ago, and he was saying to me, Sam, I as much as I want to tell you 100% on August the 14th that train will be back on the track and running, he knows that, we don't want to make another mistake, but Renee Almakar, the GM, has indicated that's the day they're gunning for, but we'll be following that story closely.
We will be. We're anticipating an update today, another one, and hopefully, August 14th is what they're targeting. But the question will be, the confidence level continues to dwindle about this system. So we'll see where we go from here. It's just another week, another LRT struggle, more LRT struggles.
100%. Hey, listen, next Friday, we are taking the show on the road. We're heading to the Navan Fair.
So much fun.
I'm so excited.
So much fun.
So much to do there, of course. There's going to be the morning parade, a breakfast, demolition derbies, the horse and alpaca show, educational exhibits, tractor pulls. I mean, it's just, and it's that old school fun. You can get all the details, of course, at navanfair.com. So I won't be in studio next week. I'll be having all the fun at the fair. Yeah. We want to really give away a couple of 2 adult 4-day passes for the Navan Fair happening August 10th to the 13th. So we're encouraging you to call right now, 613-750-1310. Once again, that number 613-750-1310. Be caller number 5, and we can hang out at the fair, the Navan Fair. Thank you so much, Anil Jolly, for joining me.
You're welcome, Sam, and always glad to see you. Welcome back, and hope you have a nice long.
Thank you. You too. Have a great long weekend. When we come back, Gary Dimmick will be in the house. Does he have a story to tell? Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by storytellers for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV. It was our 35th anniversary. To celebrate, we were on our way to Mama Rosie's, where we had our first date. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and listened. It helped us get to safety. So when I think of our anniversary, because now we have even more to celebrate.
Hey everybody, my name is Karen. I'm here with my best friends Shane and Monique. Join us on Rogers TV for Fitness Faction. Every week we're going to take you through a full body workout. We've got strength training, we've got cardio, we've got HIIT. Ladies, let's get back into it.
I think we've got 10 more skaters. Let's go.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Traffic and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, August 4th. Good morning. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kester. Right now, 22 degrees, partly cloudy. Smith Falls, 21. Here's what's making news right now. The jobless rate went up for a third straight month in July, rising to 5.5% as the economy struggles to create enough jobs to match Canada's rapidly rising population. StatCan reporting that the economy lost 6,400 jobs. Now, those job losses were led by the construction industry, while the greatest job gains were made in healthcare and social assistance. Environment Canada saying a tornado touched down in the Ottawa area yesterday during that severe thunderstorm. It was confirmed near Metcalfe, a rural community just about 30 kilometers southwest of Ottawa. And there were also a number of reports of hail throughout the national capital, along with strong winds and rain. And Alek Manoah getting the start today as the Blue Jays begin a 3-game series in Boston. The Jays holding the third and final wildcard spot in the American League with the Red Sox 2 games behind. First pitch goes at 7:10 on Sportsnet. City News Time, it's 11:31. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kester. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for spending time with us here on City News. I wanted to get caught up today with Gary Dimmick from the Ottawa Citizen. You can follow him on Crime Garden as well, and very talented writer here in this community, and sharing a story that is very, very disturbing. I wanted to get Gary's take this morning. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Sam.
Gary, this issue of somebody in our community filming women in their own private bathroom. This is somebody that was a poster boy for many organizations, and being brought up on and found guilty of 33 sexual offenses. This story is definitely hard to hear, Gary.
Yeah, 33. It's pretty disturbing when you think about it. Someone like Andrew Shangio being in law enforcement, bylaw officer, and then actually he's propped up as a mentor for the Police Foundations program when he was a bylaw officer, and so he came highly recommended, and he used to say, I can help you with your past to physical and whatnot, and it's it was 33 counts of voyeurism. So after they hit the gym or whatnot, they're using the bathroom or the shower in his condo, because that's where the gym was in his apartment building, and only to be their violation. We're talking about secretly filming women in the bathroom, in the shower, using the toilet. Some of these women he didn't even barely know, and it was 8 women in all, actually. So, and they had no idea that they were being secretly filmed.
These stories, Gary, when you cover these stories, and we wake up and we see them on the front page of the newspaper, we see them in our social media, and it's so difficult to see these stories, because immediately my mind always goes to the victims. I always think to myself, I can't imagine being somebody that's had this happen to them, and this be dragged through the courts, and to have them experience it and almost in many ways feel victimized again.
Yeah, there's a lot of it is a tall order to go to court, tell your story, and then face a vigorous cross-examination. It's not something people take lightly. In this case, the judge, Norm Boxall, he didn't buy Andrew Shangio's story that it was all consensual and they had a plan to have sex in the bathroom. And if that were the case, as the judge pointed out, why did they lock the door? Well, they locked the door for privacy in somebody else's bathroom. That's why they locked the door, only to find out that they're being secretly videotaped while they're in the shower, on the toilet, or in the bathroom, disrobing, whatnot. This is the same guy who was then, after he left Ottawa, he was then hired as a Mountie, and then he was posted out in British Columbia, and actually he was charged in British Columbia for exposing himself to young girls outside of a private school. So it was last year, 2 years ago, he was sentenced to 18 months for those crimes out in BC. He's awaiting sentencing in this case. Prosecutors looking for significant jail time. That's what she said the other day in court, and he'll find out his sentence later this season. Not the guy that you want in law enforcement.
No, and I'm hoping that they're looking for significant jail time as a deterrent to any other lowlife that thinks that this is appropriate.
Yeah, it's deterrence, and it's also to send a message, that this won't be tolerated, and also, then there's a portion of the sentence in the public interest, right? Because it's all about seen, not just being done, but it has to be seen to be done, and you would in this case, so many different victims. And then you have the history of other offenses, so that all compounds. And I'd have to say he's looking at a federal penitentiary term, unlike the last time. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that. I don't know this as well as you do in terms of the different levels of incarceration. So what would be so different from where he would be now?
Well, so if you get a sentence, let's say if the sentence is 2 years less a day for your listeners, 2 years less a day, you're looking at a jail sentence. So that'd be Ottawa jail, like a provincial jail, like the OCDC or the jail on Innes Road. Whereas if the sentence is 2 years, not 2 years less a day, if it's 2 years, then you're going into a federal penitentiary, and that time is much different than a jail, right?
In what way? In terms of the freedom they would have within the jail walls? What's the difference?
Well, the main difference is that it's a longer period of incarceration. There's also more programs at a federal penitentiary than there are at a provincial remand center. The other thing, too, is there's not a federal prison in everyone's backyard, right?
Right. I understand what you're saying.
So if you got somebody that committed crimes in Ottawa, they do their sentence in Ottawa at provincial time if it's 2 years less a day. But with the penitentiaries, you're looking at the closest ones that we've got would be near Kingston, right? So it depends where his support base is, if he even has one left. I have no idea, And I don't think it's the last that we've heard of this guy.
Well, and we've seen this time and time again. I'm not suggesting I have no inside knowledge or anything, but we've seen this time and time again where, and you've covered a number of these stories, Gary, where somebody is brought up on maybe 1, 2, 3 charges, but then we see them back in a few months because people look at the front page of the Citizen and go, hey, wait a second, I actually went out on a date with that guy, or I, did something, I know that person, and hey, actually something happened to me, and now I'm going to come forward. We've seen that happen.
Oh, time and time again. It's a routine, par for the course. The reality is that guys that secretly videotape women, it's not something they just woke up and started doing when they were 38, right? It's like any predator out there. Like they don't just start. I think the start date is really just when they got caught.
Gary, while I have you, and I appreciate you sharing about this, but I wanted to get an update on the teacher at St. Matt's. You and I have talked about this as well.
Rick DePatty, he's since changed his name to Watkins. He's going to find out the verdict later this season. So that's all we're waiting for with that trial. For your listeners, Rick DePatty is the longtime math teacher and celebrated basketball coach at St. Matthew's on Bilberry Drive in downtown Orleans. And, everybody's, a lot of people thought pretty highly of him when it came to sports and math, but, that many students, all of those young women, they all stood their ground in the box under vigorous cross-examination, and we'll see what the judge decides in that case. He took the stand in that case, and he actually said, he only the students like on their shoulders when he had to lean down on one knee by their desk, and he said he only touched their shoulders for balance. That's his story. It's up to the judge to decide which story they believe. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely be following up on that case. Gary, you're so generous to come on and talk about these stories.
You're the generous one. You take care, and welcome back to the neighborhood. I saw on the internet that you were all around.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to get away. Thank you so much, Gary Dimmick, for joining us today from the Ottawa Citizen. Check Gary out on Crime Garden. He's such a wonderful contributor to the Ottawa Citizen, and he brings us those stories. I'm going to be honest with you. He brings those stories to this community that no one else is covering. The media has changed. There used to be a time in this community where we would have 5 or 6 crime reporters down at the courthouse. Those days are over. Gary Dimmick's down there, and he doesn't need to come on here in City News, but he's very generous to do so. When we come back, Keith Whittier is going to be here. He's going to be talking about all things movies. We're going to be talking about 3 big ones hitting the movie theaters. We're going to get his take on them. And, well, I'm going to talk to him about the Barbie movie because my daughter and I are heading to the Barbie movie tonight. We want to get his take on that. I haven't had a chance to talk to Keith about that movie yet. So lots to talk about here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
Laprade Show continues on City News.
1011 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, we're already getting ready for lunch here. Today is just absolutely flying by, of course, heading into the long weekend. Maybe you've already started that long weekend. I know Mayor Tom Sidney from Renfrew and Mayor Suzanne Dion from Deep River will be joining us, and maybe then their long weekend will start, but they're going to join us for lunch today, which we appreciate very much. Heading into the long weekend, maybe you have a movie in your plan. Well, Keith Whittier is going to be able to help. Hi, Keith.
How are you?
Fantastic. I missed you.
I always miss when we don't chat. It's just, and now you're back and it's exciting, so I'm here for it.
It is exciting. Keith, of course, is a movie reviewer. So before we get to all the movies, I have to tell you that tonight's the night we have our tickets to see Barbie.
I am thrilled, and I'm looking forward to hearing your take on it after you get a chance to see it, so feel free to send me a message.
Absolutely, will do for sure. We're seeing it at Landmark. It was so tickets, as you know, tickets go on sale for the movies for the weekend on Wednesdays, and I started on Monday trying to get tickets, and of course I couldn't. So Wednesday morning, it was already pretty much sold out, Keith. I couldn't believe it.
I know. This has been a phenomenon. Over the last few weeks, I've been hard-pressed to go into a movie and not see a sea of pink. And I am totally here for it. I love the passion. I love the excitement that a lot of people have right now being at the movies. So I'm excited to hear what you think about it. I think it's going to be a great time.
Okay, can't wait. Let's start with some of those movies you're going to bring to us this week. Let's start with The Meg 2.
Jonas, we need your help. We
detecting increased aquatic activity 25,000 feet deep in the trench. It's an ancient ecosystem untouched by man. Whatever is down there is trying to make its way to the surface. This is a bad idea.
Okay, is going to see this movie a bad idea, Keith?
Not if you know what you're getting yourself into.
Okay.
We've got Jason Statham reprising his role as a member of a team of people who are, concerned about what's going on underwater, and they've encountered this extremely large shark, a megalodon, I believe they're called. It's one of those popcorn box office films where you kind of go in, turn off the brain, sit back, and enjoy. If you're going in expecting the next Academy Award for Best Picture, you're probably going to be disappointed. That being said, I found that the crowd that was in the theater with me really enjoyed it, as I did. I didn't see anybody running out looking for a refund. I bring these things up because I've heard people say, "Oh, it's such a silly movie." I'm like, well, what were you expecting?
Right.
That's exactly what you're going to be getting with a lot of these types of films. I mean, we're dealing with big sharks. We saw this franchise called Sharknado just kind of take over. I don't think anyone ever said the Sharknado movies were great. They are what they are. The same for the Meg. So for the people who've already seen like the Barbies and the Oppenheimers are looking for something different, I think the Meg delivers. It's a fun summer action film. You're getting what you think.
Fantastic. It's so funny you mentioned Sharknado. Whenever I'm holding some sort of brainstorming session and asking people to dream big, I always say to them, listen, people came up with Sharknado. Right?
Exactly.
So dream big. Okay, next one up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem.
Police are baffled by the recent crime wave led by a superfly.
Nobody's ever seen his face.
Why?
Because he kills everyone who does.
Whoa.
Cool. No, not cool.
A bit cool. Can I kick it?
We take out Superfly, and then everyone will think we're cool. They'll accept us.
Can I kick it? He's making a deal tonight under the Brooklyn Bridge. Can I kick? Whoa. Kick. What the? Y'all some little tortoises, huh?
Okay, Keith, is it wrong that I'm craving pizza now? Is that wrong?
Not at all. That just tells me the marketing's working.
There you go.
So this film comes to us from the mind of Seth Rogen, as he's one of the writers on this film. It's an animated film, and it's kind of an origin story of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it basically takes us to how they formed, and it's kind of like, it's kind of weird to say, but it's also somewhat of a story of acceptance, because of course at first, when people see them, they are kind of, what's going on with this turtle? But then, they're thrust in a position they have to try to save the city, and they kind of, develop from there. This is a fun movie that's going to be enjoyed by kids and adults. There's going to be a lot of jokes in there that are going to go over kids' heads, which is okay, that the adults will love, but the kids will love it as well. I really like this film. Again, was I desperate for another iteration of this? No, but they've done something original with it, which makes it entertaining.
Okay. Number 3 is Shortcomings.
I'm gonna go to New York. Listen, maybe you could come with me.
I thought you came out here to clear your head.
I did. And then I met Meredith, and I've been there ever since. So when are you gonna see her?
I'm here to see Miko. She's an intern here.
Actually, I'm the only intern here.
You have problems with anger, depression, your weird self-hatred.
You could benefit from a little self-hatred.
Interesting.
Okay, Shortcomings. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so this actually comes to us as the directorial debut from Randall Park, who a lot of people will remember from some of the Marvel films. He was also in the TV show Fresh Off the Boat. This is an interesting take at kind of, I don't want to say a midlife crisis, but maybe an early midlife discovery, as we've got 3 friends who are basically exploring different aspects of their life. The main character is basically dealing with the fact that he's very much a curmudgeon. Everybody sees it but him. And the fact that he's kind of like in a point in his life where he tends to blame everybody for all of his shortcomings. So one of the great things about this film is it's a dialogue-driven film. It had its premiere at Sundance, but it does a really good job of being authentic and exploring different relationships. and as we kind of navigate through this thing called life. It's again, it's a very sweet film. I'm surprised that it's getting the wide release that it is. Pleasantly surprised in the sense that I thought it might just get the Bytown Mayfair treatment, but you can also find it at Cineplex and Landmark as well.
Okay.
And I think it's a very strong film.
Okay, that's wonderful. You do this every single week. You bring us some great movies, and what I love about it is, sometimes you'll say, kind of skip it, so it's not all roses here, Keith.
No, not at all. Not at all. Sometimes I take the bullet.
How many movies have you seen in 2023?
I was looking at this the other day. I think it was like 130.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's incredible.
With the Toronto Film Festival a couple of weeks away, that's going to go up substantially, where I do probably about 30 to 40 movies in like 9 days. So yeah, I'm we're gearing in for a fun fall.
Well, that's fantastic, and we really do rely on you to bring us all those great scoops, because in many cases, Keith, movies that I've watched because you've brought them to my attention. They wouldn't have hit me in social media. They wouldn't have come across my radar.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. I think, of course, there are going to be the movies that we constantly hear about, like the movies like the Barbies and the Oppenheimers, which is great. But then there are these ones that are just under the radar, which I love being able to bring to people's attention, because they're definitely worthy of your attention as well.
So I have to tell you what I did tonight. So I booked 3 seats because my daughter's bringing a friend, and we booked them at Landmark in these new premier seats.
Yeah, you're going to have fun with those. I tried those out a few weeks ago, and it's I would say it might be even their take on VIP, because I think the novelty of VIP might have worn off for a lot of people. Yeah. And it's also it's not age restricted, but I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's basically like going in and having like all this extra space, and you get like a little mini locker to put your things in, which I think will definitely come in handy in the wintertime.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you're going to really enjoy it. And again, the movie is fantastic. So
I can't
I'm glad
wait
that you're finally getting a chance to see it.
I can't wait. And they're doing these little shout outs as well. Have you seen that?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what it is that when you're in the theater, if you want to shout out to somebody who's in the theater with you, you can record like a little video, and then for a small fee, Landmark plays it on the big screen. So it could be like, happy birthday to so-and-so, or congratulations on your promotion. I've yet to see one where it's a proposal. I'm sure it's coming if it hasn't happened already. But there's a lot of fun things. And again, it's a nice little creative way of making the cinematic experience different. So kudos to Landmark for that.
Lots of fun. Have a great long weekend. I'm sure there's some movies that are in your plans as well. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
Keith Whittier spending time with us today. He's a movie reviewer, heck of a nice guy. We appreciate his time always. We're getting busy. We are busy getting ready for a very busy lunch today, which is we're having a Valley Mayor lunch today. We're going to hang out with Tom Sidney. He's the mayor of Renfrew, and Suzanne Dion, mayor of Deep River. We're going to be talking about all sorts of topics with them, including water safety. We spoke a little bit earlier today with Carrie Schmidt, who's a sergeant with the OPP, about the number of fatalities, particularly around long weekends. So we want to keep everybody nice and safe. We know in the last number of weeks there's been a lot of tragedy. We want to try and avoid that moving into this long weekend. We're going to talk about healthcare shortages and what it means in these small communities. We're going to talk about the crazy summer weather that we've had, including not only the tornadoes, but the smoke and the storms, of course, and the heat. Oh, can we talk about the heat? We're also going to talk about needs in the communities of Renfrew and Deep River. Maybe you're heading to one of those communities for the long weekend, so they'll be able to give you the scoop of any weekend highlights as well. And then we're getting ready as well for the OBJ Business Lunch. We talk all things business. Today we're going to be talking with Michael Curran, publisher of the OBJ, regarding Bill C-18 and what it's going to mean for publications like the Ottawa Business Journal. Michael Curran's going to join us. We're also going to speak with Don Drummond about unemployment rates in this area. Lots coming up for you. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by storytellers for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
This is a brain in urgent need of mental health care. But because 3 out of every 4 Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, she may not get the help she needs. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
Hi, I'm Paula Roy, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back into my kitchen for another season of Paula Roy's Favorite Foods. My approach to food is pretty straightforward. Fancy is fine, but when you're in a time crunch or have a really hungry and patient family to feed, I say simple recipes made with wholesome ingredients that you probably have on hand are the best. And that's exactly what you'll find on Paula Roy's Favorite Foods on Rogers TV.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Is City News.
CIWW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 1011 everywhere.
It's Friday, August 4th. Good afternoon. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now, 22 degrees, partly cloudy, feeling more like 27. Smiths Falls, 21. Here's what's making news right now. Anticipated track work now underway on the LRT, which still remains shut down. The head of OC Transpo, Renee Amilcar, is saying the work to reposition the restraining rails started Thursday. Now they're hoping for August 14th as that preliminary date for the return to service. As of Thursday, 18 light rail vehicles had their hub assemblies replaced. Now we are getting another updates from OC Transpo this afternoon, but stay with City News for the latest coverage on that story. The country's unemployment rate was up again last month, rising for the third month in a row to 5.5%. 6,400 jobs were lost overall, and it appears the labor market is starting to struggle absorbing the rapid pace of population growth. Mike Eppel reports from the City News Business Center.
July saw the economy give back just over 6,000 jobs. That was after June's outsized 60,000 jobs added. But while employment growth was basically flat, soaring population growth, up 82,000 for the month, meant that not all new labor force participants found jobs, and that sent the unemployment rate up for the third month in a row to 5.5%. And still, with price pressures, inflation in the economy, workers are demanding higher wages. Wage growth rose 5% year to year. That's a number the Bank of Canada will closely watch for signs of additional inflationary pressures. The jobs report for July, just one of many indicators in advance of the Bank of Canada's next interest rate decision coming up September 6th. Mike Eppel, City News.
Now, a recent survey from StatsCan finding that a majority of people planning to retire would actually like to continue working. Our City News Parliament Hill reporter Cormac McSweeney tells us that experts say keeping older workers on the job may present both benefits and challenges.
Whether it's to keep a purpose in life or deal with the financial realities of inflation, more and more people nearing retirement want to stay in the workforce if they could reduce hours and stress. In fact, 55% according to the StatsCan survey. Michael Holinsky, an associate professor with the Ted Rogers School of Management, says there's a labor crunch across the nation, and retaining older workers may be a great way to address that, but it becomes more difficult with rapidly evolving technologies.
A lot of organizations are really pumping AI, high tech. The older workers probably don't have the same skill set.
But Laura Tamblin-Watts with the seniors advocacy group CanAge calls this a myth.
The research shows that older people are just as easily using technology as younger people.
She says ageism is still a hurdle for older workers despite their institutional knowledge and work ethic. Cormac McSweeney, Parliament Hill.
Now taking a look at your weather for today and going into the long weekend, here's our weather specialist, Denise Andriachi.
Varying amounts of sun and cloud this afternoon. Everything is calming down in terms of the active weather. We're clearing out this evening and overnight, so plenty of sunshine to start the long weekend. 25 is your high for Saturday with a mix of sun and cloud, and sunny conditions to start the day on Sunday. We'll see some clouds building in Sunday late day, but we should stay dry and seasonal. Our guaranteed high, 25.
And over in Hollywood, the studios and writers, they're getting ready to sit down and start talking.
Today's the day striking writers in Hollywood studios are supposed to start talking about restarting negotiations. The two sides haven't officially sat down to talk since negotiations broke down May 1st. The writers have been on strike for just over 3 months, and the actors joined them a couple of weeks ago, stopping almost all production of movies and TV shows in Hollywood. Writers and actors both say they want the whole system revamped in the age of streaming and protections from AI taking jobs. The studios have said they've made historic offers on both fronts. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
And I'm Perushka Gopal-Kister. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Connecting you and your community. This is the Sam Laprade Show on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you for spending time with us here on City News. We're getting ready for lunch today. I don't know what's on your menu, but we're going to be feasting on some big subjects of the day with some mayors from the Valley. And I'd like to welcome Suzanne Dion, Mayor of Deep River. Hello, Mayor Dion.
Hi, Sam. Nice to talk to you.
Always a pleasure. How's everything in beautiful Deep River?
Quite nice today. Thank you.
Good. I fondly remember my many years, my childhood growing up there, and it always seemed to be sunny in Deep River. It's always sunny as well in Renfrew, isn't it, Tom Sidney?
Absolutely.
And Tom, of course, is the mayor of Renfrew. Lots to talk about today. I wanted to start, Tom, today to talk a little bit about healthcare and some of the shortages we've seen. What are you seeing in your community?
Actually, our hospital is phenomenal, and our foundation is working really hard on doctor recruitment. And I think overall the shortage is definitely impacting all communities. But I know in Renfrew they're working really hard to recruit. And I know we've recently, I think we've got 2 new doctors and possibly 1 coming in the fall. So it's improving, but definitely a long way to go.
And Suzanne, what's happening in Deep River in terms of healthcare?
Well, similar to what Mayor Sidney said, recruiting doctors is always a big goal, and we've been fairly successful at that. I know that the healthcare field is always looking for PSWs and nurses too, and I don't think Deep River is any different. We're also going to need more of those people. We have a groundbreaking starting in August for a new 90-bed long-term care to add to the Deep River Health Campus. So there's going to be nurses and PSWs needed for that facility, which should be ready in probably 18 months, 2 years. So certainly we're going to really be looking for more healthcare professionals.
And there's just something about living in a smaller community, Tom, that, as I mentioned, I grew up in the Deep River area, and certainly it's got lots of fond memories for me growing up in a small community like that. So there's lots of benefits of somebody that maybe is thinking about moving from, maybe a Toronto or even in Ottawa into a community like Renfrew, knowing that there are jobs available.
Well, absolutely. And I think the thing about a small town is it's, we have urban feel, but yet we're still, small enough that, you get to know people and the community rallies around people when they're in need. And, I think that genuine sense of belonging and fitting in, I think is really important. And I think small communities can do that. It also gives them opportunity to be involved in the community more, and there's lots of opportunities that way. And I know we had a doctor and his family in Renfrew looking, and when we went out to Mattaway Park, their son's 7 years old, and it was Little League soccer, Little League baseball was happening right there. And I think seeing that and being able to have those opportunities for the families and stuff is really important as well. So small communities offer that.
I can still see myself riding around that Mountain View subdivision over and over again, Suzanne. I think I lapped that more than NASCAR races, lapped those race tracks.
Yeah.
Those were good days. But in terms of people moving to Deep River, give us a sense of how many people you think have kind of maybe come to Deep River following and during the pandemic.
Well, it sort of started before the pandemic to a certain extent with gig or remote workers. I think people were beginning to realize that certain jobs that were computer-based jobs were able to be done from different places. So we'd observed a little bit of that, and the pandemic certainly accelerated it. So, we do have a lot more young families now here, and I'm presuming Tom does down in Renfrew. I think the mayor articulated it so well. In small urban communities are that kind of city rural mix, and you can get to know people, and it does give you that sense of belonging that he talked about. So and small communities, urban communities that have healthcare and hospitals, we're very fortunate, I think, both of us, to have hospitals in our communities, and that's such a big benefit for people to move here, both with young children and if they're retirees. So both ways, it's certainly a big benefit. And of course, we're close, both of us, to the city of Ottawa for special needs. So it's pretty good quality of life can be had in small towns.
Oh, for sure. And I'm thinking, Mayor Sidney, about you in terms of this, this expansion of the 417 and what that's going to mean for commuters, not only heading to Renfrew, but even for those cottage dwellers, and what it's going to mean for Renfrew in terms of business and manufacturing. That expansion is going to be huge.
Absolutely, we're really looking forward to it, and we're really fortunate enough that the Minister Mulroney and MTO and the Minister of Transportation they've been phenomenal to Renfrew, and we really appreciate all that. Because it is going to really impact our community in a positive. It's going to help with growth and like you said, business and manufacturing and stuff. But it's also, Renfrew is kind of the gateway to a lot of things, and I like to say it's gateway to everything pretty much, because if you want to go hunting, camping, fishing, skiing, whitewater rafting, you kind of have to go through Renfrew. So, it's going to give us the opportunity to strategically over the next, 4 years and stuff to really put Renfrew strategically on what's best for is this where we want to put commercial, because we do have a lot of property that the municipality owns. So, we're really looking at stuff like that. And, the great thing about Renfrew is, we talk about the secondary spousal income, and, with having the mayor of Deep River on here, somebody can live in Renfrew and work at CNL, and the other spouse can work in Ottawa, and it's pretty much the same distance. So, we're very fortunate in where we're geographically located.
Absolutely beautifully said. And let me ask you this, Mayor Dion, this summer certainly has had a lot of crazy weather, if you will. We were reading out yesterday in terms of tornado watches and warnings, and Deep River came up there. Of course, Renfrew did as well. How have you fared during some of this crazy weather? Has anything sort of hit the Deep River area that you want to share today?
Oh, yeah, we've had our share of episodes again this summer, like most, but certainly the smoke that was thick as anything back in June, and some crazy storms. We had a tree basically get hit by lightning and kind of explode, a big white pine tree near the highway. So certainly we're not immune to weather. Just seems to be the Eastern Ontario corridor is that one of those areas. But I will say we're pretty proud here with our background in nuclear energy and recognizing that some of the work done by people from Deep River and the rest of the Ottawa Valley has helped contribute to Ontario being a fairly clean grid with like about 80% of our energy from non-emitting sources. So Ontario as a whole is hopefully not contributing to the climate problems that we're all experiencing this summer. But certainly, that having that legacy of nuclear from the Ottawa Valley and getting about 60% of our power from nuclear in Ontario is a pretty thing that we're proud of locally.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. How about you, Tom, in terms of weather? I know I've seen some pictures of you and your beautiful wife, Shelley, enjoying some of those summer days, but how have the weather been in the Renfrew area?
We definitely, the smoke was a big issue for us. We opened clean air stations for people that needed it. Renfrew is kind of unique because where we're located between the Ottawa River and the Madawaska River, we kind of get missed. We have our fair share of storms and stuff, but when we've been very fortunate enough that it kind of splits around us. So, we haven't had the major impacts like Barrhaven has and stuff like that. But we're noticing that Renfrew and Renfrew County and Deep River and all that, like we're seeing more of the tornado warnings and things like that I don't remember as a younger person in Renfrew having those issues. So there's definitely been a shift. And we're definitely, we keep monitoring and everything, but we're on the path. But Renfrew fares out fairly well.
Okay, we're going to come back with a couple of our favorite mayors here: Tom Sidney, Mayor of Renfrew; Suzanne Dion, Mayor of Deep River. Come on back, join us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
Sometimes, for a wish to come true, it takes a kingdom, because together is stronger. Tied tight, united we stand, in honor of one child's wish, to fuel the fire that will grant many more. Join the kingdom.
You know the story, when the RCAF said Mach 2 fighter, 2 place 1,000-mile range, the British said it was impossible. The Yanks tried twice and failed. They said, you're dreaming. We said, fine, we'll build it right here in Toronto. And now you guys, my guys, are saying that it can't be done, that they were right?
Now that's the rocket that we used to get the model up to speed, and then the onboard sensors tell us that...
Come on, baby.
Damn it! But we did it according to your specs. The specs have changed.
We did it.
Arrow 201. You're cleared for takeoff.
We did it!
Although the government cancelled the project and destroyed the prototypes, the Avro Arrow remains for Canada a world benchmark in aerospace achievement.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit StopTrackTragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, it's lunchtime, and we're keeping these mayors from having a long weekend. So we're going to get through our lunch today, and hopefully Tom Sidney and Suzanne Dion can get started with their long weekend. Suzanne Dion, of course, mayor of Deep River. Tom Sidney, mayor of Renfrew. Let me ask you this, Suzanne. You know, when it comes to water safety, we've seen some tragedies. We've seen some tragedies in your community as well. We're heading into this long weekend. What words of wisdom do you want to share with our listeners today to keep everybody safe?
Oh, well, it's certainly important in our neck of the woods, in terms of being on the Ottawa River and everywhere that has water bodies. It's so important to be safe when you're out on your boat. Bring PFDs and wear them. Certainly, programs that teach water safety and swimming skills are so important, and we're fortunate to have those here. We do have also a lifeguarded beach, so try and use all the safety means that you have when you're out on the water, so there's no tragedies this weekend or any weekend. It's just something none of us want to face in our families or with our loved ones.
Beautifully said. And Mayor Sidney, we see and we hear, people that have gone swimming and they don't come home, or they've gone out on a boat and they don't come home, and that's not what we're looking for on this long weekend or ever.
Oh, absolutely not. I think it's important that it's follow the rules and be responsible and know your limits and know your swimming skills and be prepared accordingly. Renfrew is very fortunate enough to be surrounded by a lot of great lakes and rivers, and I think it's, if you don't know somebody, if you don't own a cottage or whatever, somebody that does, and again with that small community factor that when you're out there and having some fun with some friends and the responsibility piece is really important, and know the rules.
Yes, wonderfully said.
I just wanted to say too how grateful I think we all are for our local emergency service responders too, and give them a shout out to their help for situations that occur in our up in the valley in various places. So big shout out to fire, police, and paramedics too.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. I spoke a little bit earlier today with Kerry Schmidt from the OPP. Sergeant Schmidt, he's a very well-known person across the province. He sometimes has to give those tragic updates of accidents, whether that be in the water or being, on the 400 series highways or on trails. And the numbers he shared today were just staggering of how many people have lost their lives, especially on the long weekend of the civic holidays. So we don't want to see any of that. We're looking at all those first responders for all their great work. Let's change subjects a little bit. Tom, let me ask you this. Top needs of the community. You've got lots in your sights as the new mayor there. What are the top 2 or 3 things you're gunning for?
Well, I think every municipality is always gunning for new roads and better infrastructure and stuff like that. So we're currently Renfrew just started about $22 million worth of road work that's going to be done in 2023 and finished in 2024. So, there's lots of construction being done here, and we're really looking at, how to improve that. And, I think it's also being, prepared for growth and stuff. So we're really focusing on that. And it's just we're there's so many things on the to-do list. It just becomes you want to improve the community, you want to bring the community closer together, you want to improve infrastructure, roads, you want to balance the budget, you don't want to raise taxes, things like that. So we're always looking at being efficient and working with our tremendous staff and learning their needs and what they feel is sort of prioritizing in Renfrew and listening to them. They're the experts, and plan accordingly.
How about you, Mayor Dion, and Deep River? What's on your mind?
Well, very similar to Tom. I think I think the provincial government would be really wise to look to small communities like ours to help with some of their crisis of housing that we're dealing with in Ontario. Certainly Deep River's looking. We've made some land available, and we've got some developers in the works here to develop, but we certainly need more housing of all different types, infrastructure as well. But with a little bit of provincial investment in some of our plants, for example, our sewage treatment plant slight upgrade, we could accommodate more growth. So because we've got the water capacity, so those types of things are really important for us. Is being able to attract more housing and facilitate it through strong infrastructure, as the mayor said, without raising taxes too much.
Yeah, it's always a delicate balance, right? Is keeping the city or the town needing those upgrades, but not on the backs of taxpayers so much. This upcoming weekend, Mayor Sidney, if we're heading to Renfrew, what can we expect?
Well, we've got our beautiful historical downtown that's thriving with great boutiques and stuff. On Sunday, we're celebrating the Renfrew Highland Pipes and Drums 112th anniversary at the McDougall Mill Museum. So they're putting on a bit of a concert, and there's a whole historical display about them and what they've done. And it's kind of cool. My grandfather was in it years and years ago, so that's, we're looking forward to that. So there's always something to do.
Always something to do in Deep River as well. Mayor Dion, tell us what's happening there.
Yeah, well, it's a farmers market weekend this Saturday, and then Sunday is the 38th annual Deep River Triathlon. So it's one of the longest annual triathlons and sprint triathlon in Canada. So that's running on Sunday, and we're running our postponed fireworks. They were postponed due to the smoke situation back on July 1st, so that's on Sunday night.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And if folks are interested, on August 19th, Deep River is hosting the Cross River Swim as part of the Water and Dirt Festival. So if there's any long distance swimmers out there, that is something coming up on August 19th.
Wow, that's awesome. There's always something going on. I mention it all the time, Mayor Dion. I'm sure I drive you crazy talking about when I was there as a kid, but I certainly
I keep inviting you back.
I know. I need to come and visit you.
Come and visit me.
But I played tennis. I played basketball. I was always putting on my skis in the house and skiing out the back door. It's got lots of great memories for me. But I appreciate you both joining us for lunch today. And I have to ask you, Tom, before we go, what's the best part of being the mayor of Renfrew?
I think it's engaging the community. I think it's, trying to, I like to keep people informed and, a social media presence. And I go to the Golden Age Activity Center once a month for, coffee with the mayor and things like that. And it's to engage the community and let them know that we're here and we're working for them. And, we're trying to be as quick as possible with the information so it's in real time. And I think I love being the mayor, and I take it very seriously. And but it's to engage the community and listen to them. Last word to you, Mayor Dion. Best part of being the mayor of Deep River?
Oh gosh, there's lots of good parts, but I think just the people that I work with, creative problem solving. They're a really good team that both on council and the staff. That part of it is good. Older infrastructure and trying to figure things out and keeping our residents engaged and busy with lots of recreation to do. It's just an interesting job. So I recommend it to people.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say your long weekend starts now. Okay. So,
Okay.
so I'm going to give you permission. I have no authority to do this, but Mayor of Brentford, Tom Sidney, the weekend is yours, my friend. Mayor of Deep River, Suzanne Dion, off to the long weekend for you as well. Thank you so much for joining us here on City News.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm hoping that maybe you're heading off early on the long weekend and you're listening to us, maybe heading to the cottage or running around getting those last minute snacks as you're heading for some fun this weekend. A reminder to everybody to stay nice and safe this weekend. We don't want to be sharing any sad news or tragic news this weekend. When we come back, it is the OBJ Business Lunch. We talk all things business. And we're going to be talking with Michael Curran, publisher of the OBJ, regarding Bill C-18. An important discussion. Stay with us on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Rogers TV presents a series of original creative stories animated by storytellers for children of all ages. Join us for Ottawa Storytellers.
It's a new season of The New Fly Fisher on Rogers TV.
It isn't the heavy trays that make the job difficult, or the fast pace you need to keep up. It's not working another double because someone called in sick. What makes the job tough is the moment you realize a customer has had enough and you have to make that decision not to overserve. Refusing service isn't personal, it's the law. We know it's not easy, but we're counting on you to keep us all safe. Thank you, servers, for doing the tough job.
Hi, I'm Meg from Fit Over 50. In my upcoming episode, you can join me for a workout focused on core and back strength. All you'll need is a band and a chair. Can't wait to work out with you soon.
Fit Over 50 with Meg, weekday mornings at 8:30 on Rogers TV.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
For local news, traffic, and weather for Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News 101.1 everywhere.
It's Friday, the 4th of August. Good afternoon. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista. Right now, 23 degrees, partly cloudy in Ottawa, feeling more like 28. Smith Falls, it's also 23. Here's what's making news right now. The jobless rate went up for a third straight month in July, rising to 5.5% as the economy struggles to create jobs to match Canada's rapidly rising population. StatCan reporting that the economy lost 6,400 jobs. Now, cleanup continues in Ottawa after that confirmed tornado last night. Environment Canada confirming the tornado touched down in Metcalfe, a rural community about 30 kilometers southeast of Ottawa, just before 7 p.m. Ottawa Fire saying parts of a roof were ripped off a home in Riverside South, but no injuries were reported. And researchers with Western University's Northern Tornadoes Project, they're now calling on provinces to better protect homes by including hurricane ties in their building codes. They say that the metal fasteners used to secure roofs only cost around $200 per household to install, but no provinces or territories require them to be installed. Now, the call comes after 3 tornadoes touched down in the Ottawa area. in the past month. City News Time, 12:31. I'm Perushka Gopal-Kista for news anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The Business Lunch on City News, brought to you by the Ottawa Business Journal.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Thank you so much for spending time with us here on City News. Of course, it is the OBJ Business Lunch, where we talk all things business. Michael Curran joins me now, the publisher of the OBJ. Hi, Michael.
Hello, Sam. Nice to be with you again.
Always a pleasure. I wanted to talk today about Bill C-18. I saw a post that you shared on LinkedIn, Michael, regarding this bill and the implications. And, you know, you've sent this right to Mark Zuckerberg. You've said you and your fellow executives have made an ill-advised and irresponsible decision to ban Canadian news on Facebook and Instagram. You go on to say, I understand you have issues with Bill C-18, but this is an overreaction that puts Canadian journalism organizations such as the OBJ at risk. You're hurting an already fragile media sector. You're depriving millions of Canadians of important information. You're damaging Canada's democracy, and you're diminishing our own platforms by removing professional journalism. Michael, I've read a lot about Bill C-18. I thought this statement that you shared was one of the most succinct, to the point pieces I've seen on this, and I had to reach out to get your reaction.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks, Sam. And when I'm typically on the show, of course, we're talking about business news headlines. I'm not often trying to put OBJ in the business news headlines, but, you know, what we're really talking about here in Bill C-18 and the post I made is about the business of journalism organizations in Canada. You know, City News would be one of them. OBJ would be one of them. We have a community newspaper just west of Ottawa called Kitchissippi Times. And effectively, as you said, the federal government has been trying to, and listening, by the way, to the media industry. So I'm not saying this is the federal government acting on its own. It is the media industry and large media players asking the federal government to take action to help create a more solid, stable business model for Canadian journalism of the future. So the federal government's refusing to this, and without getting into a lot of complexity here, a similar scenario unfolded in Australia a couple years ago, and in fact, Facebook and Google did come to an arrangement with the federal Australian government and negotiated some funding with private media companies to support them. So the basic thinking here is that companies such as Facebook and Google have done a good thing. They've created social media, and the business model of social media is to really to support it through advertising. So companies like Meta through Facebook and Instagram, Google, have built these giant audiences, and they're monetizing those audiences through advertising. A lot of that advertising company, new revenue for the social media giants, has come from traditional media, has come from newspapers, has come from television stations, has come from radio stations. It's to such a degree, and we're quite literally talking about tens or hundreds of billions of dollars here. Meta just about $120 billion in annual revenue. That the leftover, so if you imagine a pie chart of advertising dollars in Canada, that Meta and Google are eating most of that pie chart, and there's so little left over that many media companies in Canada cannot continue. In fact, Sam, about 500 newspapers have closed in this country in the past few years. So think about, and I'm not saying this has all happened in small towns, but think about all those small towns throughout Ontario and the prairies and out east without a community newspaper, or perhaps a local radio station covering town hall, or covering land development, or covering crime, or covering the courts, or covering the effects of climate change. So really, we're dealing with a very, very fragile media industry that the federal government is trying to help, but in doing so, they got into a very large fight with Meta, and as you indicated, Meta decided earlier this week that it will proceed with its threat of removing all new Canadian news links on its platform. And that doesn't only mean that OBJ or City News or Kitchissippi Times, that means we can't share on Facebook and Instagram. It also means users cannot link to an article. So if there was just a by-election, for example, right, we not too long ago. So a user, just to be clear, if they wanted to read an Ottawa Citizen or City News report on that by-election, they could also not share that. That would be blocked by Meta. Anyway, so those are my initial comments. I'm happy to go in whatever direction you want me to.
So that was sort of your take in terms of what that meant, and you know, setting that message. Whether Mark Zuckerberg actually sees that or not is a whole other thing. But you're really sharing with those big companies, hey, listen, this is the impact. You've also reached out and really wanted to share what the impact is for local business leaders as well, Michael, because I mean I've obviously been enjoying the OBJ for many years. You've obviously put your heart and soul into this, but there's not many places where we could read about a Kevin Ford, for instance, or in many ways those small businesses that have sort of shared their journey or what their challenges are. Those stories have come from the OBJ over the years. I think about someone like Gordon Reed, the late Gordon Reed, who passed away, who started Giant Tiger. I mean, these are the kind of stories that really are the fabric of our community, and we don't want to see that lost, Michael.
Well, that's it. So, beyond what this means for OBJ, what I was trying to communicate is what this means for the larger business community. And as you indicated, and I'll put this into real numbers, on Meta. So, of course, Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. So in a month, this would mean 250,000 fewer impressions on social media for those local business stories.
Wow.
So 250,000 impressions per month, 3 million per year. That's a big number. So if, to your point, OBJ's mandate, which it is to share local business news and help many people in the community understand what's happening in the local business community, then our ability is greatly diminished. But also, the impact that we're going to have on the impact on the companies whose stories we're trying to tell is greatly impacted as well. So, there's two sides of the coin. It hurts us in our business model, but it also means the companies that we're talking about in all of those important news reports will also not get that exposure.
Mm-hmm. And you've also spoke as well, Michael, directly to the government, and talk to me a little bit, if you were to have time with the Minister of Heritage and the Prime Minister, for instance, and they were to hear you for a couple minutes, what would you want them to hear from you?
Yeah, this is a complicated thing even in my head. So I want to be very transparent about that, because the Metas and the Googles will say that what the federal government is trying to impose is a link tax. So a tax that they need to pay when someone links to a news article. Their side of the argument would be, hey, we're helping those news organizations by allowing other people to click on those links, so on and so forth. So there is part of me. That understands that, and I understand their perspective. There's another part of me that would say to Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, or to Google, that you've completely disrupted a fragile industry in our country. And it's not only a business sector, it's part of our society, it's part of our democracy. So you should feel compelled to and have a responsibility to Meta and Google find a way of keeping journalism healthy and vibrant and evolving. And by the way, that's not only for the sake of journalists, that's not only for the sake of Canadians, it's for their sake, because if news disappears from Facebook and Instagram, I will ask you, Sam, what fills the void?
Right.
So if there is no accurate, balanced journalism on social media, if that all disappears, then how does fake news, I hate to use a Trumpian term, how does fake news take hold? And what does that mean for us as a society, for democracy, for us, for our ability as a community to come together and understand issues so that we can address them, whether that's healthcare or climate change or, what's happening to the local business community. I would argue that there is a very compelling reason for Meta and Google to work with the federal government. So I'm finally answering your question here. I'd say there's a compelling reasons from multiple perspectives for them to come to the table and negotiate some type of agreement with the federal government that might be a link tax or might not be a link tax. I don't pretend to know that answer, but it's kind of like a labor management scenario here where we need to say, you need to get back to the table and talk.
For sure. And back to your sort of pie analogy of the little tiny slice that's left. I mean, when you think about the profits that these companies are bringing, you would think that they would be, once again, obviously I'm not Mark Zuckerberg, but you would think that they would say, okay, listen, we're going to give up because social media they've put the platform there. We're all populating it, Michael. I mean, they're not coming up with anything, right? So it's one of those things where it's kind of a bit of a strange. I mean, if you would have said 30 years ago, hey, I'm going to create something where we're going to give you a platform, everybody else has to contribute for it to work, we all probably would have looked at each other like, what are you even talking about? But that's the platform that's there. But to your point, I mean, I think about articles that I've shared over the years that have, sometimes 30, 40 people are saying, hey, I didn't know about this. I mean, these are serious consequences that if this was to go on for any length of time could really impact. I mean, I think about even heading into a potential election, a big federal election again, another municipal election, another provincial election. I mean, those are the types of where sometimes we get to even know the candidates.
I think that's an excellent example. So imagine a federal election happening where no news, Canadian news, can be shared on Meta and potentially Google, if they go ahead with the threat. Like, where does that leave our country? Where does that leave the electorate? We're in a much diminished space. So I don't want to say to Meta, you must comply to the government. I respect Meta's right to disagree with the federal government. But what I'm saying is, regardless of C-18, you've overreacted. You've damaged the fragile economy. You've hurt our democracy. You've hurt your own platform. So you need to come back to the table and find a solution. And you should feel compelled to do that for, again, many, many reasons.
And I'm going to say something, I don't even know if this is going to sound the way that I'm hoping it is in my head, but how much money do these companies need, Michael? Does that make sense to you? I mean, it's just how much money at the end of the day, like, how much money do you need what else is the things that money can't buy, such as democracy, is impacted by profits. At some point, you've got to say, where's the integrity here?
I would think so. However, I'm trying to be very balanced here in my discussion about Meta. So I'm not trying to suggest even for a second that Meta, which has created a massive innovation here that's really changed the world. So I'm not saying they should be penalized to do that, and I'm not saying people who innovate and disrupt industries should be responsible for fixing those industries. I guess what I'm saying is this is a very unique industry, and it's not like we're making widgets or It's not like we're selling commodities here. So you need to be very careful when it comes to news. And it's not the responsibility, again, I want to emphasize this, of Mark Zuckerberg to fix Canadian journalism. But certainly if he's going to disrupt it and he understands the full impact of that, he needs to be willing to support it in some way. And I'm not saying that's by writing a $100 million check. That may or may not be the solution. It could be all sorts of things, and it could be Facebook helping journalism organizations evolve their digital strategies.
Right.
It could be by providing them with priority accounts. So potentially a City News or an OBJ account gets priority in the algorithm to be shown. It could be in providing advertising credits. So again, I'm not trying to suggest that it's Meta's job to fix news. It's my job to fix OBJ. It's not Mark Zuckerberg's job, but he needs to appreciate the high-stakes poker game that he is playing right now.
Very well said. Michael, thank you so much for sharing and sharing on this important topic today. I do appreciate it, and I'm hoping that we can connect again. I know you've got the big golf tournament coming up, right?
Yeah, we got a golf tournament coming up on the 22nd, which is almost, I heard Sue Ling on your show earlier this week, it's almost sold out. So if someone's interested in that, we can talk about C18. No, I'm joking. You can go to ottawabot.ca, ottawabot.ca, and you can register for the golf tournament. And yes, maybe if I see you on the links, we can talk about Bill C18.
There you go. But you want to have fun too, right? Want to have fun. Yeah, absolutely. Michael Curran, thanks, and have a great long weekend.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Michael Curran, publisher of the OBJ, joining us. When we come back, we're going to speak with Don Drummond, former chief economist at TD Bank, senior fellow at the C.D. Howe Institute. We're going to be talking about unemployment rates in this area. We're going to talk all things business. Stay with us here on City News.
Sam Laprade will be right back on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Bum, 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 bum. $20. $20. We're on the line for $20.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each and every weekday at 2 p.m. for an edition of Daytime Ottawa. We will share with you some fabulous stories, inspirational stories, and of course, recipes from local chefs. We'll tell you about some wonderful musical performances, introduce you to local businesses and charities, and so much more. Join us here on Daytime Ottawa at 2 p.m. weekdays with repeats at 6 and 11 p.m.
It was John's graduation. We were so proud. We all got together for a picnic. That's when we heard coming from the radio. So we stopped and we listened. It helped us get to safety. That's why when I think of John, because now he has a real future to look forward to.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Hello, I'm I'm Jim Deeks, host of Canada Files. I hope you'll join me each week for interesting and informative discussions with some of Canada's most impressive people.
The Sam Laprade Show continues on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, thank you so much for spending time with us here on City News. We're heading into that long weekend. Our team in the newsroom, of course, getting ready to bring you the news of the afternoon. But we wanted to have a conversation first with Don Drummond, former chief economist at TD Bank, senior fellow at the C.D. Howe Institute. How are you, Don?
I'm very well, thank you.
When we think about unemployment rates in this area, and I think certainly through the pandemic, this was a number we were following very closely as well. Where are we sitting right now in July?
Well, I always hesitate to start with the unemployment rate. If you take particularly what happened in Ottawa-Gatineau, the headline could be drawn, the unemployment rate went up. It went up from 4.3 to 4.5, but that's because the labor force grew more than employment. The increase in the labor force is actually good economic news. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's absolutely astounding that the labor force in the Ottawa-Gatineau area has increased by more than 5% over the last 12 months, from July 2022 to July 2023. So regardless of whatever happened to the unemployment rate in some months, that suggests that people are hugely positive on the labor force in the area. They're coming, they're entering the labor force, and for the most part, they're getting employment. Employment has increased 4.4% over the last 12 months. These both the increase in the labor force and the increase in employment are amongst the hottest statistics in any metropolitan area in Canada. So yes, a slight uptick in the unemployment rate, albeit still very low at 4.5, but really a labor market that's almost on fire over the last 12 months.
Interesting. And we've heard this before, Don. I'd love your take on this. We hear this time and time again that Ottawa is a little bit insulated because of the federal government. Is that part of this story?
Well, actually, it could go further than that. Not only is it insulated, but the federal government has been hiring like crazy, and they have for the last number of years. It increased at a fairly modest pace for about 10 years, from the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s, but it's been increasing at a very rapid pace since. So we've seen good employment gains. Not the last month, employment went down slightly, albeit still at a high level, but we've seen these employment gains across most of Canada, but outstripping that. And a good part of that is the hiring spree and spending spree that the federal government has been on.
Interesting, really, really interesting. So give us a sense then in terms of what you're seeing across the country. This is good news for this area. What else are you seeing?
Well, again, I fear the headline will go, the unemployment rate ticked up. I would say we shouldn't look at that so much. The unemployment rate at 5.5% is almost as low as it's ever been. We've had the current labor force survey since 1976, so a rate of 5.5% is extraordinarily low by historical standards. Employment went down, but the level of employment is very high. So when you have such a low unemployment rate and you have the level of employment so high, just having no change in employment, which is basically what we saw, and seeing the unemployment rate stay stable is very good, a good result. We've also saw wages go up 5% on an annual basis over the last year. So that's pretty high, not particularly high given the inflation we've seen over the last 2 years, although that is running faster than the rate of inflation at the moment. That's got to give some concern to the Bank of Canada in their quest to get inflation down to 2% and keeping it down, because of course wages are the largest cost. And a good part of that is reacting to the failure of wages to catch up in 2021 and 2022. And now when agreements are opening, they're trying to not only match current inflation, but get back what they lost in the last 2 years.
Yeah, really interesting. Don, thank you so much for sharing. As we head into the long weekend, I'm glad to see that's some good news.
Yep, we should all feel good about the prospects of getting gainfully employed.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Don Drummond, former chief economist at TD Bank, senior fellow at C.D. Howe Institute. Okay, it has been a very busy week here on City News. We talk, of course, to anywhere between 12, 16, sometimes 20 people a day and share those news stories that are important to you. We talked, of course, about the LRT a lot this week. We talked about the announcement from the Trudeaus that they are separating. We talked as well, of course, about the weather and about some of the challenges. We've talked about individual communities and what's happening. We talked today as well about the 416 and that new exchange happening there, potentially between Fallowfield and Bankfield. So that's going to be interesting. Lisa McLeod shared some thoughts on that. It's been a very, very busy week. We're getting ready to do it all over again. We're heading into the long weekend, but we're not done here on City News. Our team's going to be here and are always here to bring you any of that breaking news. Lock it in to City News.
You've been listening to the Sam Laprade Show.
Tune in again for local news and community views on City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
I'm Julian Armour from Music and Beyond. Join us for a new show this spring on Rogers called Music and Beyond Presents.
I'm Derek Fage, and I encourage you to join me each